Yeah. We are here, live and in living color. What up? What's up, y'all?
Hello, y'all.
What's going on?
This is Activist Hour. We had a special time, 6 o'clock. Got a little earlier time. I am your co-host. Our host, Monica Cannon Grant, has a whole new baby. Whole person is in the world.
Oh, nice.
I want to say he's about a month.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks. So congratulations to Mo. It's still good, man.
Yeah, nice.
6 week old. You know they got that baby smell. That smell. Oh, that infant smell. I don't want one, but that infant smell. Oh my God. I am your co-host, Calvin Feliciano, aka Troll J Simpson, aka Nat King Troll, aka J Troll, aka Sir Troll a lot, aka Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini, leader of the Troll Patrol. Squad up. I like that intro.
I'm just Christian White, the one day at a time, Dad.
Yeah. Intro yourself. So you heard from
All right.
Christian.
Yep,
We got
yep,
this
yeah.
stallion over here.
And I'm Rhodes Pierre with We the People hanging
We
out.
the people. Y'all need to be tuning in, man, here on Disrupt Boston. Shout out to the homies Michael Doobie and Brian Murphy behind the board. This is Disrupt Boston. We're here live at the Down the Road Beer Company. Ain't this fat, this whole setup?
I was
yo?
looking at the tanks. I appreciate
Mad
that.
beer, bro. This
Yeah.
is a brewery.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So this is fire. I love this spot. So we have two people that we're supposed to be on. We're hoping they both are able to pop in. Whose is that? Is that mine? Lower your volume all the way so they don't hear it in our mics. There we go. So Mark Mays, who does amazing father organizing. He runs
Shout out
group
to Mark.
circles. Yo, man. Shout out to the homie Mark Mays,
Yes.
man.
Okay.
He does fatherhood circles once a month. It is really important stuff. And is a papa. He got a flat tire. And then Clark Grant, who is Monica's significant other. And he was on our group chat, and I hit about the new time, but I left him out. Like, he wasn't in that chat.
Oh, okay.
And so we did a time change. So they both, if the tire gets fixed and if Clark is able to, they both might run in. So let's hope that happens.
Absolutely.
And we
Okay.
get to see those brothers.
Absolutely.
And then let me introduce my guests. Introduce yourselves.
So I'll go first. My name's Christian White. Some know me from the slogan "From Single Cell to Single Dad." A lot of people know me from my latest campaign, which is going around throughout the inner cities of Boston, Chelsea, Lowell, Lynn, all the way out to Springfield, hanging up posters with the slogan, "If you go to jail, will the gang raise your child?"
Huh.
And so, I've done 3 state sentences, 3 county sentences. My last sentence, I was given 10 years for possession of a firearm. I served just about 9 years. When I went in, my son's mom was 8.5 months pregnant. When I came home, he was just turning 9. I saw him twice as an infant. He was about 10 days old. And then I saw him twice when he was 2 years old. I got out, hit the ground running, became a dad. There's some choices that went involved with becoming a dad, which we'll get into later. But through some unfortunate yet fortunate events, I've now been a single dad for the past year, full-time, raising my son on my own while in the house, but outside the house, there's a huge village that I lean on when I need it.
Yo, shout out to that, man. Let me tell you something. I'm a more traditional dad. These are the super dads. I'm a much more traditional dad. If mom is not around, my house would be a nightmare. It would just be a frat house with me and my 2 sons. Pizza boxes. Like, I'm in no way mature enough to handle that because it would be bad. We up till 3 a.m. every night watching Black Panther. We got pizza boxes stacked up. Dudes ain't showered in days. We would just be wilding. So shout out to my wife because, our house would not function.
No, it's absolutely true. Like, women generally do make guys elevate their game. And so,
Course,
generally
man.
speaking, guys try to impress the ladies and stuff. And then when you play homemaker, they've practiced playing dolls since they were
Fellas,
kids.
I'll tell you the secret on how you can do it on your own later.
Good.
Okay.
We need some of those gems.
I mean, like, I'm not a dad myself, but I'm just saying, like, I appreciate.
And the homie, I feel bad. So this brother's not a dad. He was here and decided to help us and stay for the interview. It's better with 3 people. So we appreciate this brother Rhodes Pierre, man. Tune in to We the People Saturdays at 4 o'clock here. So tune into that, right?
Yeah. Disrupt Boston.
Right here,
yeah.
Disrupt Boston.
Yeah.
So tune into that. I want to come on, by the way.
Please,
y'all
please
see
do.
me on We the
Yeah,
People eventually.
definitely, absolutely.
But so I think that after hearing from our stories, you might never be it. You might just be like, you know what, I'm all set.
I'm going to disagree with that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll see.
We will see. But
I have never known love like, so my son asked me And he asks me this occasionally, maybe every other month. He'll say, Dad, do you still love me? Because in his mind, that could change at any moment. So he said, do you still love me? And I said, of course. And he said, well, what does it feel like? And I said, Christian. So my son, he just turned 12 in January, a few weeks ago.
Oh, man. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Christian.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tween. He's a tween.
He's a tween.
Shout out.
So he says to me, what does it feel like? And I said, Christian, when I see you, when I smell you, when I touch you, when I think of you, when I watch you, every single part of my body just smiles. That's what it feels like. And I have never had that particular love for any other human being, not even myself.
Wow.
That's fire.
No, that's.
Let me tell you something. The smelling thing goes away when they hit puberty. You're right about almost there. My oldest is there. He almost 14. All of them dudes, man. You go to any middle school, the 7th and 8th graders stink, bro. Because I had to Google it. I had to look this up because the chemical imbalance of puberty, the hormone change, and all of that starts to make your pores sort of leak like just different toxins and whatever. So they be humming, bro.
Yeah.
I got to do the 2-3 showers a day. Like, nah, you know what?
Yep. I agree.
I know it was 4 hours ago. Go again.
I agree with that. Christian's getting there.
When it gets there, you'll just notice. It'll just be stark. One day you'll just be like, damn, bro, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll just be like, what's up? And it ain't nothing up.
Yeah.
It ain't nothing up.
Absolutely.
He's like, I don't know what's up. You know what I mean? Like, I hair's growing weird places. I don't know what's up. So, I'm excited for this. So let's go around, and we'll start off this way. Talk to me about the first time becoming a dad, that process, because we're talking about dads tonight, fathers. Oh, this brother's gonna get slandered. Ladies, don't start trolling me. We'll get into the hashtag men too. We'll get into that. We're gonna get into that at some point. Don't start going now. So we're gonna talk about being a dad, man. First time. What bugged you out? Christian, what up?
The first thing that bugged me out was, this kid came from me. He's half of me. That was the first thought. So, and it's a little bit different for me because I had not known my son. Any single bond that I created in my mind with him was imaginary.
Was you there for birth?
He was born when I was inside.
Yeah.
So I went to prison when his mom was 8.5 months pregnant.
Damn, son.
Yeah. So everything was imaginary. And see, when you're in prison, one of the major things is it's 2 different time zones. When you're in prison, you have to find a balance of a routine, which is basically to keep your mind safe to get you through the years, the year after year of the same old stuff. And so how you have to do that on some levels is, if you don't have really good contact with your kid's mother or your wife, or, there's a distance issue, whatever the case may be, in essence, you almost have to forget about them. You almost have to, and I talked to Christian about this, you in essence have to forget about any sort of real connection in favor of a tentative one that you can build in your routine of your everyday prison life just to keep yourself sane. So when I first came home and I saw him, he's already a person that had nothing to do with me. So I had to respect him.
You came home, he's how old?
He's turning 9.
Damn, son.
Damn, son. So for me, he was a totally grown person in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before I even thought about parenting him, I had to respect him for who he was.
Word.
And how I did that
and traits that aren't yours.
Traits that
like
aren't
my
mine.
2 hold all these traits, like and I'm trying to do better because they take the bad stuff. But when they're growing up with you, under you, sort of mini yous, they take your traits.
Yes.
Yes.
If you pop in at 9, that kid's a
Developed.
kid.
Yeah, he's already.
That's a person with his
He's
own
a
traits,
person.
with his own things.
And so, so for a lot of brothers like me who grew up in the system, so I've done 3 state bids, 3 county bids, numerous, awaiting trial in Nashua streets, I mean, I was in the life for a while. And
that picture of you getting bagged with the hammer is wild.
yeah, yes.
I feel like you look like one time we was on the Humboldt bus. Remember before it was numbers? Remember that? Remember
Yes,
that time?
yes.
I'll never forget. It might have been like 93. I was on the bus with my mama. And, we do food shopping, looking for the sales and, on the bus, on the And some dude was dumping on somebody right on the Ave, like following him. It wasn't even late night. It was like right, and it was just such a bad entry into like what goes on, right? Like we had heard shots around the hood, but I just had never seen someone legit daylight
so
chasing
casually
someone dumping. And it kind of looked like you, fam, but we're not gonna go into it.
You know, again, it just looked like me. Okay,
It looked like it
looked
wasn't.
like me.
It wasn't.
Me. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
It wasn't him because I know who it was.
All right.
So we'll
Well, but I know you're gonna say something about your son and everything like that.
Finish.
All
Go,
I'm gonna
please.
say is like this: psychological diseases are the most contagious diseases. So as you said, your traits, they pick up on you and stuff like that. Mentally, whatever you twitch or whatever those are the things that kids will pick up on.
Ah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because they grow up with it. But continue.
And so what I found is that so many brothers like me, we grew up in the system. So in a lot of ways, the COs were like our parents.
Yeah.
And what I refused to do was to come home and father him as if I was a CO running the cell block. I wasn't going to do that. And the only way I was able to do that was to address my own mental health issues, because that left me open to the option of receiving my son as he was. No judgment. So I spent months just watching this kid. What did he eat? What did he shy away from? What startled him? What sort of games did he like? What did he hate doing? How did he bond with his mom? And what separated the bond from his mom for the bond from me? And I had to pay attention to these things because we don't take into account that. Think of how grown you thought you were at 8 years old, 9 years old.
No, yeah, exactly.
So I mean, and with YouTube these days, I mean, kids are a lot more forward thinking than we are.
Dog, today for lunch, because my wife works the overnight, so she come home at 7:45 in the morning after doing an 8-hour shift at the hospital, and she rolls in, she go to bed, right, and I wake up and be with the two boys, right. My 7-year-old, we love making pizza together for lunch, so we're making the pizza. You know, you make the little, you make the little pieces, right.
Yeah.
So,
well, for us, it was English muffin, sauce, and cheese.
For them, it's like the fancy, set up, perfectly put together. What do they call it? You know, the Lunchable. The Lunchable ones.
Yes,
Those are great. So we're making that, and I'm like, oh, let me spread the tomato sauce because I want to do it right. And he's like, no, I'll do it. And I'm like, and he's like, don't worry, Daddy. I've been making pizza since kindergarten. And I'm like, fam, that was last year. Like, you turned 7 2 weeks ago. And so that was a year ago. Like, it was just so funny to hear him being like, I've been doing this since. And that's at 7 years old. So I can't imagine popping in on him at 9 and him being like, I've been doing this since back in the day. And I'm like, fam, you can't say back in the day to me. Before your birth ain't even back in the day to me. Like, you can't say back in the day.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you ever get that from a 12-year-old. They're like, way back. And you're like, fam, don't say way back in my house because you're not even a teenager and way back ain't even your birth.
Yeah.
But to them, it is.
It is, yeah. Word.
And so that's what I kind of started understanding is my son wanted me to accept him for who he was.
Oh.
So I had to learn how to do that before I had any inclination into turning him into what he should be.
I think every kid wants that, okay?
Yes.
It's just that most people do not know how to give that, and I'm glad that you actually took the time to, like you said, observe your son, learn who he was, and then you were like, okay, then you can relate with him, because it's a human being.
Yes, yeah.
Although they're born, like you think, no, it's a blank program, but bottom line is they're born with their personality, I believe.
Yes.
And you want them to be, you want them to have the freedom to do it. Like, my oldest is not a mini me, I want to be just like you. Like, he's just not. He sort of pushes away from that a little, and I'm cool with that. And the younger one is all about, like, I'm the mini you. I want to do it. You know what I mean? I'm like, cool. So I embrace both to make sure that they know that, like, take what you want to take. Don't take what you don't want to take. I'm rocking with you regardless.
Nice.
Whether you like me, whether you like your grandfather, whether you like your mom's, like whatever, wherever you're at, I'm on team you.
Yes, absolutely.
Even if that's very different from team me.
No, understood. That's awesome.
You know what got me early on, and trigger warning if this is, just a random trigger warning, but like in the actual birth, is that like I spent all this time talking to the belly, right? Like I was already sort of woke while we were pregomatic, so I wasn't trying to go back to jail. I was just fresh off that life. And I had only done like 8 months juvenile time. Like I had never done adult time other than Nash, 6 weeks, 9 weeks. So one thing that bugged me out with both of them was that I spent, and the second one I did it on purpose, I spent so much time talking to this belly that he recognized my voice. So now I've been talking to you 40 weeks, And then he popped out, and, you know, they crazy, and they crying, and they yada, yada. And I'm like, oh, man, don't cry. And as I talked, crying stopped immediately. Because he was like, oh, I've been hearing that voice. I'm good.
Good point.
I'm good.
Do you want to know what you really bring up that a lot of men do not consider?
Freak it.
You have to remember, your child's mother knows your child 9 months longer than you do.
Wow.
A lot of men don't think about that.
Okay.
However long she carries that child, she knows that child longer than you have. So she knows that child better than you. And when you talk about, and it's real, because when you talk about that care that goes into that process, see, I didn't do that. I was still in the street. I was still.
Well, you couldn't do that. You said you were sentenced.
But this is the pregnant part.
He was for a little bit.
That's right.
When I went to prison, she was 8.5 months.
So yeah.
But throughout the pregnancy, I was nothing but stress.
Yeah.
She developed hypertension.
Oh.
Who knows how that could have affected my child?
Yeah.
But now that I understand the medical aspect, it definitely could have affected my child.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I'm still ripping and running the streets, dealing with multiple women. I actually had multiple women pregnant at the same time.
Ooh.
Wow.
Christian was
Do you have multiple kids?
No.
Okay.
No.
You had them pregnant at the same time.
I had them pregnant at the same time.
He knew how to. They got.
Okay, somebody. Okay.
Some,
all right.
you know,
Something happened.
And shout out to that. I'm not with
Yeah,
shaming abortions
No,
or
no,
anything.
no, no,
like
no.
Oh,
that.
no.
Or anything like that.
I
I'm
mean,
all with that.
on some levels, I promoted it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I own that. But my point is you are absolutely right. That care that you give your child before they are actually here, they're already here.
Amen.
We just don't, as men, we just don't see it like that.
And then one of the things that you did, like the fact that you talked to the belly, was something that a lot of cultures they do. Like before the kid's even out, they talk, they sing to it, and then those kids tend to, like you said, recognize, be more alert, and it really has. There are a lot of benefits to talking to the kid while they're in the belly, playing music for it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Reading stories and books, learn because just reading.
I used to read the
kid,
paper articles. It was
Yeah.
in the middle of the anti-war movement. I would always. I have so much. Like I have ADHD, and they both do on the strength of me. And I have just so much racing. Like I am going for as long as I'm awake. I can do radio shows. I can do 2-hour shows, 10 of them a day. Like I'm just so on, and I have so much content because there's so much going on in my mind. And so I just have to get it out. I talk to myself all the time. I love smoking at night when my wife goes to work. I'm smoking. I chill. I talk to myself. I think about the old days. I have a good cry, dolo. That's a great thing to do for me. I'm very introspective. So I always was talking to it. And it's dope when you're talking to him and then you see him start flipping out and hitting the belly. And you're like, my homie talking to me. He's saying, what up?
What people don't take into consideration is every time we speak, every time we move, every time we think, it's an energy transference.
Yeah.
It's a vibrational pattern.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you're talking to that belly, if I go on your arm, that's a particular wavelength that's going through you and having an effect on you. So when you're being calming, when you know what I mean? When you're being calming, when you're encouraging, when you're respecting and loving, and this is to something that you don't know about, that you don't know what they'll be about, but you just love them for universal sake. That's, man, you're talking about patterns and vibrations, man.
Dude, the fact that you said that, all right, like when you described the love that you had for your son, dude, I was like if I was a chick, I'd go, ah. No, but literally, I was like, damn, dude. Like, you know, as a person, as a kid, you'd want that kind of a relationship, that kind of like respect, that kind of like understanding. You know, every human being would be wanting, you know, that kind of like the level of understanding.
I'll tell you a story on the night that my son came to trust me. It was
It's gonna be deep. I like this. Go ahead.
It was a Friday night, and it was a beautiful stormy night, as we in New England can appreciate a beautiful stormy night.
Love him. I love him.
It was snowing, so I was living in Framingham, and his mom lived in Norwood, and it was undrivable. So I told Christian, I'm like, you know, I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and I told him, I'm like, you know, you're gonna have to sleep over. And he immediately, visibly So my son's on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
And so he kind of started, he's very high functioning, but he started like, you know, they do this a lot with their hands.
Yeah.
And he started becoming visibly upset. And I'm like, well, what's wrong, kiddo? You know, we're going through our little routine, calm mind, calm body, calm hands, you know, just talking through it.
Yeah.
And so he's like, Dad, I don't want to wet the bed. And I'm like, Christian. So he was 10 at this time.
And was going through that and didn't want you to like be mad at him.
He didn't want me to be mad at him. He didn't want me to judge him. He didn't want my love for him as a dad to be connected to something he physically couldn't control. And so he says to me, you know, Dad, I'll stay up all night. And I'm like, Christian, and here's a little boy going through this in his mind. And I'm like hurting inside, but I'm like, Christian, let me explain something. I wet the bed till I was 12. So you're already better than me.
You're doing good, boy.
You're already better than me.
Yeah.
So he loosens up a little bit. So we go to sleep, we lay down. He wets the bed. So he wakes up in the middle of the night and he jumps up and he's like, see, Dad, I told you I didn't want to do this. And, you know, this is why. And I'm like, Christian, calm body, calm mind. Go wash up, take a quick shower. And he does that. He comes back out. Now, normally, I would let him know that we would sleep somewhere else, whatever, but I purposely left the blanket wet, left the bed wet, left the sheets wet. I left everything wet. And when he came back, I was laying in the wet spot. And he's like, Dad, why, you know, we should change this. What are you doing? And I'm like, Christian, you need to know that how you experience life has nothing to do with my love for you. Kind of like what you were alluding to earlier. I don't care what you do, I am team you. And so when I laid in the wet spot.
They got to know that. They got to know that.
Yeah.
When I laid in the wet spot and he snuggled up against me, he knew that I was getting wet. And he knew that it didn't bother me to get wet for him. And that's what he needed to know. And at that point, he started talking more words to me, more sentences to me. He started telling me how he was having trouble in school, but he opened up off of one pivotal moment on if I would accept him for who he was.
Wow. That, you know, like I can imagine how much confidence it gave him. You know, that he knows that you always have his back and everything like that, dude. That's awesome.
You got to know that, man.
Always.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing that I want to get to. This second part is how do we interact with your baby mama when y'all split up, right? Like my sons, it's so interesting. They look alike because they both light-skinned Boricua women, right, that I've had. So they both very much look alike. So people think it's usually, but that's not the case with my oldest.
Yeah.
And me and his moms were very, very lucky that, like, it didn't end in turmoil.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It kind of was like, we had postpartum depression. We were broke. We were miserable. We were like at bad times.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And we were 19 years old, 20 years old, making $50K combined.
Yes.
With a kid paying Boston rent in 2005, and it sucked. Like life was whack, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was hard. But anyway, but we were cool. So he's almost 14. I mean, we've been doing this since one. We split at 1 year old. And we never were, it was never bad times. It was never F you, I hate you. It was never, like, we never had, like, really bad times. We just kind of been cool. Just kind of been friends. Like, yo, you my homie. This ain't working out, fam. But, like, I got love for you. We splitting this kid. Like, we got to make this work for this little dude, man. I don't know, man.
I mean, like, again, I don't have kids and everything like that to relate to baby mama. But as far as relationships go, I'm like, the point is you guys loved one each other enough to the point where you guys actually, you know, consummated the relationship, actually had sex. So
well, sometimes.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, then I don't know how can that love turn into hate to the point where, like, I ain't gonna talk to you.
Well, assuming it's always love, though. Sometimes you have sex with a woman and then y'all have a kid, and that wasn't necessarily what you were intending.
Like I said, yeah. But I'm just saying, on the basis of, like, yeah, if you guys do have a kid together, you guys, for some reason, I think there's gonna be love there. That's what I hope there's love there.
Had I been home for Christian's early years, 1,000% Christian would not be as good as he is today. I literally probably would have been driving around, him in the back seat in his car seat. I would have saw an enemy, probably been shooting out the window, and said, because I put the gun further out so he didn't hear it all the way, that I was somehow being a great dad. And not only that, that was the street mentality. In terms of his autism, I would have most definitely said, my son is just going through a phase, leave him alone. She would have said, well, look at the signs. He's monosyllabic. He only speaks one word. That, give me, whatever the case may be. He wasn't responding to when his name was being called. He wasn't making direct eye contact when he was mumbling. There were all of these little signs that she spotted off of the strength that she loved him. Had I been home, I would have loved him, but that love would have been very distorted. It would have been because I was raised to be the N-word. I wasn't raised to be a man or a brother or somebody who loves somebody purely for love's sake alone. I was raised under you're only worth something as long as you're providing a certain product or service.
And you're coming in sort of woke, right? Like you're coming in
absolutely.
9 years old doing it, you know, like doing it way better. Like I'm so like you're coming in with this mentality of like, I want to be a good dad. I want to raise you to be a good man. I have seen all these things. I want such different for you. Like when you're come at it that way, like I'm so blessed that like I got into my politics and off the gang life at like 17 and a half. So by 19 having that kid, you know, I was already a year and a half out. Like there's such a struggle when you're in the street life. When you are slanging, you got murder beef in different areas. You might be going to jail. You might have warrants coming up. If not, something might happen any day. Like you are just unstable as a person in this kid's life because of the life you're living.
And it brings up a good point. And so, you know, the one day at a time dad. And it's literally one day.
Can y'all speak close into the mic? A couple people saying audio.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
And it's the one day at a time dad. I don't do it weekly. So I've come to this conclusion that depending on how you grow up, there are certain kind of dads that you can be. You can be a full-time dad, which means fully active, fully functioning, supportive father. You're a great support system. You can be a part-time dad, which means you have the love and intentions, but you just don't have your kid as much as you may like to.
I've done that for years.
Yes.
That's whack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you have sort of the weekend dad. And then you have...
Done that for a bit. That sucks worse.
And then you have sort of on the lowest rung, you have the special occasion dad.
Oh, never did that.
Never
did that.
Yes. You have the special occasion dad, whether it's a graduation, whether it's a Christmas, a birthday. And even at these instances, there's such a disconnect between you and your child that the only thing you can think to do is make up for it financially.
If that.
Assuming you can.
Yeah.
Assuming you can.
Because there's no emotional connection. It's just kind of like you're a material, you're a provider, maybe, if even, you know.
And I would just push back a little bit on that. There is an emotional connection. I think what a lot of people tend to not think about is exactly nobody looks at how an individual was raised. I can look at my dad now. So, you know, for some of those who know me from about the ages of 4 to 12, I was chronically raped, molested almost 5 times a week.
Damn, son.
I'm sorry.
Almost 5 times a week. Hence, men too. And so...
that's about the assault.
Yes.
I love that.
Because it started with women as the Me Too movement.
Of course.
But I just wanted to find a way to say, look, I don't want to steal your shine.
Y'all see, we're still getting into that later, but y'all see it ain't what you think.
I don't want to.
Ain't what you think.
I don't want to steal your shine, but I want you to know that men go through this as well, and it's not spoken of.
Adding that as a topic, by the way.
But men need to absolutely acknowledge any pains that they have went through if we're talking about being the best people for ourselves first, our children second, and our communities later.
Yes.
You have to begin to address these things. And so for me, I started addressing all of these things. And I began understanding that when it came to being a full-time parent, I had to be a full-time aware man.
Yeah.
I had to.
No, absolutely. I mean, again,
You absolutely had to.
The experience that you went through and everything like that. Again, to kind of relate to how you said you're living with your son now these days and stuff like that. The connection that you have with him, as far as like, because you went through the ordeal that you went through.
Yes.
It gives you a unique perspective on how to relate with him and everything like that. And I commend you for what you're doing and the fact that you're brave enough to actually bring that up and stuff like that, what you went through as well. And so it's just amazing, like how like they say, hurt people.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that's so it's like if you can't deal with the hurt that's inside of you, it's going to manifest into hurting somebody else and stuff like that. And
Or the way you've been hurt, you then pass on. Like
Yeah.
I always have to catch myself. I do it without the violence. My mother was like very drill sergeant, 4'5" Puerto Rican woman, right? Doing it by herself, like stealing on me at like 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
Like you getting stole on, right? Punched dead in your face, right? And so I always catch myself not with the violence, but definitely with the drill sergeant, with the I said, and I always have to
This is
check
what I
in. It'd
said.
be so hard.
And so,
it'd be so hard.
and that's the thing.
Oh, it'd be
So
so,
let's say
hard. Like,
I'm the middle of 11 children.
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm 40 years old. So, I mean, I'm like the last generation of that have a bunch of kids era. And so, interestingly enough, what I was going to allude to, and it ties into this is, so it didn't hit me until my 6th year of my incarceration. One question popped into my mind, or one fact popped into my mind, and it was this: my son did not ask to be here.
Yep.
Word.
Yep.
That popped into my mind all of a sudden. I'm sure there was a buildup somewhere, but that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
And so
you and moms figure it out. I'm here. I'm not a part of none of that.
So-
Y'all figure it out.
So
to make
the
sure I'm
original
successful.
question is
I didn't ask to be here.
what does it come, how do kids' moms and them relate when it comes to the child? Natalie and I successfully put to the side, and we went about 5 years with no contact. But I wrote my son a letter every week for 8.5 years.
Nice.
Every goddamn week.
Do you have those somewhere?
He does.
Yeah, he does.
He has those?
Yeah.
There is literally
Like
a
a
box
box?
Oh,
of letters
nice.
from me.
Oh,
Nice.
man, you better laminate those.
And so,
Because you know paper gets brown. You got to
Yes.
laminate those.
And so I remember one time I was trying my best to get her to like send me pictures, whatever. And so in Canteen upstate, you can buy cards. And you can either get them in English, Spanish, or probably might have another language now. And so I sent the card in Spanish, and I'm like, look, I have no clue what this says. English hasn't been working. Maybe this will have a better effect. And she's Haitian. She don't even speak Spanish.
Oh, man.
And so, but it was just at that point
Look at
where
that, look at
the
that.
system
Stop
was...
by saying.
Shout out
It
to
was-
the Haitian
You
sisters
got
out there.
some freedom in them, man. Shout out to that boy Haitian
But it
blood,
was just
huh?
it was just at that point where I was in one of those modes where it's like, damn, man, I need to be in this kid's life. And so, but she had really strong feelings towards me. And a lot of fathers be like, well, she's acting up and all. Man, dude, don't ever take away the fact that you turned her into a monster.
Word.
Don't ever take away
You and many
your-
men.
You
You and many
I
men.
mean, not even just many men. She has a past of her own.
Yes.
She has so many things going on, and pretty much especially if you're a street dude.
I like that. You see,
Ex-
y'all are hearing it. I always
especially-
get flack for being hard on the brothers, and I'm appreciating
yeah,
this vibe
no,
right now.
no,
I
no,
get
no,
flack
no.
for it. For the,
We
you know
are-
how they be acting, how they be wilding, how they
Yes.
flip out,
No.
and it's like, what are we doing to these women? What are we putting these women through? How many times she crying tears over us?
Yeah. Yes.
How many times are we failing
Well,
at something with these women, man?
Absolutely. And I mean, again, not to get, again, the whole hierarchy of racism involved into it, but again, the Dark Sisters will tell you that they go through a lot more pain and struggle, and they feel as far as like the hierarchy on the totem pole, it's like they feel like, they're the ones that get the bad end of the stick.
Well, I mean, that may be true. I mean, I don't necessarily know the science. I'm just saying in terms of the way we treat our women in general.
Yeah.
And
But
I don't.
you not hearing it when the brothers are like, you know, they be flipping. You know how baby mamas get. You not
don't-
hearing
see,
that.
because
I ain't hearing that
we're-
either. So you hearing it from two dads. We're
we're-
not hearing
if
it.
we're comrades, we agree that she's bugging.
Yeah.
So it's not the only time that I disagreed with one of my male friends about a woman is if they told me they put their hands on her. I would instantly be like,
You wilding out.
"You bugging, dog.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
thinking? You know
Yeah.
we don't do that."
Yes.
But anything else is fair. You know how many times I done told a girl I got arrested? That's why I couldn't come to her house that night.
Word.
We're
Rico
talking.
Suave
We're
over
talking,
here,
but
man,
this
you
is
know what I mean?
reality. This is the reality of it.
Yeah.
And you know she's stressed out. Well, what police station should I come to? I got the bail,
awful.
and
That's
it's like, and
awful. That's
I'm in the
awful.
next woman's house
That's
doing
awful.
whatever.
That's awful.
But this is not. But when
He
we're
in Dorchester slanging it.
but-
she in Roxbury checking B2.
or even worse,
Checking all the.
even worse, she's checking all this, and I'm right upstairs in her friend's apartment.
Wow.
But my point is,
See how we ain't shit. You see
no,
it?
no,
Do
no.
you
But
see
that's
it?
my. But
Do
in
you
my.
see it?
So what I'm saying to
But they
dudes
be
is,
wilding out. They be
yes,
wilding out though.
What I'm saying to men is, own your stuff.
Yes.
Own your stuff. If you call so many men, especially dudes that get a little bit of money, they coddle their girlfriend. They want to hide her from the world. But then if they get locked up, they don't understand how she ruined everything in the stash, crashed the car, because you never let her go out and experience life.
Word.
You never let her choose to love you.
Word.
You bought her to love you. You
Wow.
forced her to love you. You gave her no other way. And it's, go ahead.
You know, one thing I love is that I saw you recently, and you put your stuff out, so I feel like I can talk about
please,
it because you put them
anything.
out. You
Yes,
put
yes,
them way
yes,
out. But I saw that. I saw a screenshot of a text exchange with you and baby mama,
Yes.
and it was dope.
Yes.
And it was like,
Happy
yo,
birthday. Yeah,
salute
yeah.
to you, queen.
Yeah.
You know what me and my baby mama have done? We have been such good friends, man. But like, we give each other Father and Mother's Days for that other person.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
You know what I'm saying? So for the brother Harvey, he's Latino, but they call him Harvey. He's Javi. You know how we be. But to that brother, I appreciate you. And my baby mama has always appreciated my wife, and we've always been cool. And we've been for maybe 6-7 years now exchanging the, you know, yo, when it's Father's Day, I hit her like, yo, man, you let that man know to hang in there. Cause you be bugging. I be trolling, so you know I gotta troll her, cause we friends. So I'm like, yo, you let him know you crazy. So hang in there. But I appreciate him as a dad. I appreciate the role he's taking with my son. I never felt self-conscious about that. I was always like, that man loved my kid, and I'm with that. You know what I'm saying? And it was always dope. But I saw that exchange,
Yes.
and it was hot.
And it was a long time coming because I had to step back and let her heal however she needed to heal. I was not going to get back into her life until my son was 8 years old. It wasn't going to happen any time before that. No matter how much I would try to call once in a while, write a letter once in a while, she was healing from her own stuff. And it had
Some caused by you.
some caused by me,
Yeah.
but most of it I didn't even take the time to learn because I was being so selfish. I was being so damn selfish. I wasn't even
That's
allowing.
us. We laying it out, man.
No,
That's
and
us.
it's like,
We laying it out.
No, but I commend you for being so introspective and actually recognizing that, and the fact that a lot of men don't do that. And you know what I earlier wanted to bring up was the fact that when you talked about like you were glad that you for some reason you weren't in your son's life at that early age, because you would have been like, hey, I've been like macho, be like, nah, he's gonna grow out of it. He's gonna get, you know, you mentioned that earlier, and that's the thing. And it's like you recognize that as a fact that it was a blessing that you were there, and then you can accept him for who he is. And that he's, you know, he's a human being and he's coming out of his shell. He's coming, like, and you accept him for who he is and you've given him that confidence to be who he is. Dude. So
I want to wrap these two segments and say to y'all, I want to go around. Let's do one, and let's keep going to them as they come to us. Advice for brothers interacting with your BM when y'all split up and your baby mama having another man.
well,
Go ahead, start off.
all I'm gonna say is this, like, no, seriously. Every time, like, people are like, "Oh my God," like, you know, it's like, why are you gonna get jealous? She's found someone that's gonna make her happy, and if it wasn't you, if you really truly love her, be happy that she found someone that's making her happy, and be like, "Hey, awesome!"
If it worked with you, you'd be there.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as like, again, like, I'm not a dad. At least I don't know that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't claim, but
That Haitian swag. You know them Caribbean brothers.
All I'm saying is like, no, I don't have it. But anyway, but as far as like baby mama, no, get along. You guys have created a human being together, and it's like that should like the existence of this person, this vibration right there is like your energy, and it's like you guys should be able to like get along to, you know, be good to one another.
Easier said than done. So many.
I feel bad. I wasn't gonna say it. I'm like, wait. I was thinking it. I was thinking it.
Calvin,
we're gonna let Christian be the bad guy since he got the Men Too hat.
When was the last time you looked in the mirror and asked yourself, "What am I worth?"
I'm super introspective. That was like last night. and I haven't thought a lot of it.
And I'm gonna tell you the difference between somebody like Calvin and me 20 years ago. I would have never thought to ask a question like that. When you begin to see people misunderstand a lot of things. People tend to look outside of themselves for so much of the answers that's right inside of you.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna tell you a quick story, and it kind of coincides with this. It does. I used to have this therapist in prison. Now in prison, they warn you against doing any sort of trauma work with an inmate because they don't want inmates walking around like open wounds, because it can be a security threat. That's their thinking.
You can't address trauma from in a place that traumatizes you every second.
Yeah.
And so the interesting part is because I learned how to advocate for myself, one, because I learned the language, two, I was able to get this therapist to open up enough to work with me. And so she said, Christian, I'm going to tell you three things. She said, firstly, do you believe you're perfect? And I said, well, of course not. You know, if I could just fix this, and that. She said, what are you worth? I'm like, I can't answer that. I never thought about that. And she said, you often tell me that when you were a boy, you used to ask God to save you. And that around 6 years old, I grew up on horror movies. So once I started watching The Omen, I said, well, God's not working, so I'm going to pray to the devil. Maybe the devil will help me. And she said, Christian, that's a beautiful thing to do when you're a child. Because I used to dissociate. I would be on the ceiling. There would be that little boy being hurt down on the bed. And I would laugh at that little boy because that wasn't me. And growing up, you have to find a way to reconcile your pains to the point where you can begin to reinterpret your past because you only have one of them. And what I began to understand, speaking in the future now, was that everything that I had been through was preparing me for exactly me being on this seat bench talking to you two brothers right now. But to get back to what she said to me, she said, Christian, close your eyes. And I'm like, okay. She said, I want you to think of yourself as a stereo system. You have the bass, the treble, the left speaker, right speaker, all these little buttons and doohickeys to create the perfect inward sound and outward sound. And so she says to me, she says, the way defense mechanisms work is that as you experience life, certain sounds and buttons are automatically turned down or shut off altogether because they don't play a role in keeping you they don't play a role in keeping you safe.
Okay.
They're not needed. The trouble with you is because you had one particular life your whole life, you had one self-defense mechanism that went on auto repeat anytime the wind blowed.
Yeah.
And so she said the goal for you is to slow things down, to begin the process of realizing that you are so much more powerful and worth so much more than you had ever known, ever given yourself credit for. Because most people that go through trauma, they have a hard time trusting themselves.
That's right.
And so when I started kind of following this advice, I started realizing that there was options opening up for me. And the more options you have, the better the chances of you making a different choice than you would typically make. And so to tie it into what we're talking about right now, when it comes to children's mothers, when it comes to men, you know, it's easier said than done. Stop looking at her. Look at you. It is all about you. Because let's say I come home and Christian doesn't accept me. I have to know that I still have a duty as a dad.
That's right. That's right.
if I'm on child support, my duty as a dad goes beyond paying that child support.
That's right.
So there's so many, and these are issues within. These are not issues without.
Yeah.
Because you can find ways to give quality time beyond anything financial. But you gotta be open, and that means you gotta have dealt with some of the things within yourself to do that.
That's deep.
No,
That's deep.
They say, have you heard the statement that you can't really love someone else unless you know how to love yourself? So that kind of is that reflection of it's everything's really inside.
Which
it's a mindset, and then that you project out.
I to push back on that, I think that you can't love to your fullest possibility. Because I feel like for many years, because this hasn't happened, I'm struggling with it now, self-worth, I definitely been loving them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love them with all of it, you know what I mean, with all of this. But for many years, because of my own traumas, I haven't loved me with all of that. And I haven't felt self-worth. Like, that's my trauma from being a child, right? When you got a mom that look like your daddy, neither of y'all ain't neither of y'all worth nothing, right? Like, and you getting hit, and then you start to question.
No, you bring up a good point. The worst thing that you can be as a kid is a kid that looks like the dad that is not around.
Oh my God!
Let's call it what it is.
No, it is. It's true.
Let's be honest. Every time I look at you, it's like, yo, let's be honest here.
Shut your daddy's mouth.
I don't know if anybody watching this broadcast has seen my son, but there's some really striking features.
Yeah.
So, it's like.
It reminds me that Obi Trice got a song, Obi Story, which I kind of love, and I love that part. He's talking about beefing with his moms and, like, things going bad, and he's like, me and mom start beefing and yada, yada, and he's like, I can't stand you. He's talking as the mother saying to him, he's like, can't stand you, looking like your daddy with that same walk.
Yeah.
Mother out in the streets.
Yes.
2 nickel-plated 38s on me. I can't stay away from beef. And it's like, it reminds me of that. I've always felt that anger, right? You getting beat up a little bit in the morning before school, and then you go to school and you end up fighting at school. Because you angry because some woman done put a hand, you know what I mean? Now you putting your hands on somebody. And that's rough. And that affects you as a dad.
And that's the thing. And that's what people don't really realize. So, let's throw it out there. All behaviors learned.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with that said, to tie it into when we talk about love, for me, love is defined as when you want for another what you want for yourself, whatever level of growth you are at that moment.
Yeah.
So when I come home from prison, there are some friends that offer me cocaine to cook up. There are some. Can I talk like that?
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There are some friends.
Yes, right.
I guess,
Guess
it's a little late, but there are some friends that'll offer me a firearm. There are some friends that offer me weed. Some will buy me cigarettes because I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore, but it's like that is how they understand love.
Exactly.
And that is their highest form of respect. Because some people be like, oh, they just want you to go back to jail. They're setting you up. No, that is how they understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
So, and what I'm saying is when it comes to opening up the options for self, it's beginning to learn that there is more than one way to show your self-love.
Yeah.
Because as you show I put up a post the other day that in essence said, when I say I love you, I'm not saying that I won't hurt you. I'm saying that I won't hurt you intentionally.
Yes.
Know this. Yes. Because love evolves as well.
I might hurt you. I might let you down. I might not be the best of what needed, but it'll never be that I'm not. Going back to it, man, I'm team you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, going back to it, I'm always on your team.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always.
So, I mean, based upon that, again, like, I know you guys went through that trauma and everything like that. So it's like, as you said, again, if we, take it to that level of like, okay, that's how they know how to show love.
Yes.
Okay, so.
And that would have been the love I showed my son.
Yeah.
That was the love.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
These things are really
Learn.
routine.
Yes.
They're really routine.
The whole thing of the trauma that a lot of people face, I feel, is like, I feel, the thing they call the Stockholm syndrome.
Absolutely.
And I feel that's what majority of Americans are going through. You know what I mean? Like, we've been caught here, brought here, and then boom, like now it's manifested into the split of the abuse and the way that things occurred is Because again, we had slavery in this country, and no one's actually addressed that. The fact that the behavior was like beating and abusing people to get them to work and stuff like that. And then some to this day, it's changed a lot, but a lot of the parents still manifest. All right, if I beat you or what have you, that's that's the way I show love to you. They haven't evolved.
Yeah, you know what it talks about to this point of behavior being learned.
Yeah.
One thing I read one time in a book was how during those times when the slave owners weren't around, people mimicked that same activity.
Yes.
The same hierarchy among the field people.
And the reason why we mimic
violence and all of it.
You see somebody who has power or authority or who gets things done or who has status, and you want to be like that.
Yes.
So when I went into the gang life at 13, I was primed for the gang life by the time I was 9 years old.
Yeah. Because that's what you saw. Yeah.
I just had, no, not that I saw. So let me explain a little bit.
Okay.
So when I ended up on the street, previously.
How did you end up on the street?
And I'll get into that.
Okay.
So, but do you have a.
We bought, man. We out here. How do you get in? It's how do I get out? You was in when you was born and y'all are in the bricks and you hear guns. You know what gunshots are at 6.
Yes. Yeah. And so for me, going through everything I went through, on top of the abuse, there was the other abuse of neglect from my dad. There was all of these little things that played a role. When I was we were living in Cambridge. I went to like 7 different middle schools, and I mean, there's all these little factors involved. But we were living in Cambridge. My dad sat me down. I was 13, and he said, "Christian, I can't afford you anymore. You need to leave." That's what he said. So it's like, oh, okay. What the hell do you say to that? And so we were given 2 options. What? We could either move in. It was me and my brother. We could either move in with our biological mother, who we met a month before that for the first time ever.
Okay.
Or we could move in with my uncle and aunt on Wambach Street, who are both pastors. So we chose to go to Roxbury because at least it was still Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. My biological mother was living in Kentucky. So we move in with my uncle and aunt. Now I'm on Humboldt Ave. This is 9091.
Is this the uncle and aunt that we all know?
Yeah, Ray and Gloria.
So, you wildin' out. Okay.
So now try to think in your head what it's like for a child that grew up in a totally moralless household run by an iron fist, moving into a household that is full of morals and run by love. I have never experienced this sort of culture shock in my life.
It's got to be intense, man.
It was more intense than my first time going to prison.
Yeah.
10 times more intense. Because when you are in a situation where people show love in a particular way that is based on using, abusing, and discarding you, and now you're in a situation where people show love because you're a human being, yo, you can't. That's hard to accept.
And how do you know how to even receive that?
Yeah,
when you haven't been loved, and
do you want to know how I received
you
it?
Don't love me. Like I don't even know what that is.
I'm gonna tell you how I received it. I received it by willingly going to the courthouse and asking to have a chins put on me so I could go to a foster home so I could at least feel a little normal.
Word.
I needed to feel normal.
They had chins back in them days.
This was DSS, of course.
I thought chins was. I was on the chins. I thought chins was new.
Child in need of service. No, that's old.
Yeah.
That's chins. Chins have been around.
Damn.
So
yeah, the chins. Chins is a bad idea, by the way.
Very bad
any
idea.
Parents, when they start to hit you with the chins, we could help your kid. They not about to help your kid.
Very
Don't
bad
do
idea.
The chins.
Yes.
And so the way I ended up
It's
on
basically voluntary probation for a child.
Yes.
And they take rights away from the mom. Once you sign and you're on, rights have gone, and you are property of the state at 13.
Yes.
Wow.
Go ahead,
Award of the state.
Yes.
Wow, wow, wow.
That's exactly what it is.
Bad.
Exactly what it. And then they, if there is a situation where you want to reunite, they're gonna have to go through hell to get you back.
Yep.
So many people dealing with DCF
Well, but that's
now
the
know
whole
that.
thing. I guess it's a system set up. Because again, if it was a system to set up to cure, they're like, okay, you're cured, you got. But it's like it perpetuates itself. I guess.
Well, in essence, these are systems set up to cure.
I mean, look at
but they're not necessarily set up to cure the ills of our personal community.
All right.
Hold on. Here's something I want us to get into for sure.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm moving us along, and we can come back to that. But one thing that was big on my mind was, as somebody who was raised wrong, right? Right? Listen, my father figures were the OGs for the neighborhood. By OGs, for us, it was like 24-year-olds that were wilding, right?
Yeah.
And
Had the cars, the ladies,
it was bad, right? You're just taught to sell drugs. You're taught to hate kids from different communities. Boston's a block neighborhood, so you start learning that kids that you remember from elementary school, you have to hate now in middle school because he from over there and you from over here, and his OGs done killed one of your OGs, and your OGs done killed one of his OGs, and y'all have to hate each other. But so, how do we raise our sons to be better men when we are such broken men, and when we have been raised in this system of white supremacy, which works for us sometimes against our own women, right? Like, which you can benefit from against your own women, and rape culture.
Yes.
Like, you're raised on white supremacy. You're raised on race culture. You're raised on bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. You're raised on gang rape songs. Like, it ain't no fun. Like, with the homies, he ain't have none. I can't even hear that no more. And that was one of my favorite jams. But New Woke Me is like, damn, this is rapey. Like, what's up, my peoples? What's good? How do we get them to be different when we? How do we do it? Broken men.
First and foremost, you as the man personally have to become different.
Lead by example.
It's always about leading by example. So for me personally, and everybody has their own different journey. For me personally, I'm going to give everybody a secret to success as it applies to me.
Do.
When we talk about change, when we talk about going into that introspective self, first and foremost, pat yourself on the, so many people say, Christian, how did you change? Why did you change? And I tell them, I haven't changed at all. I've learned how to successfully redirect the energy, because just as hard as I go for the activism is just as hard as I went in the gang life. So if you want to know what I was like in the street, look at how positive I am now, and you're only as good as you are evil.
Yeah.
And so when they say, how did you do it? I tell them this. There is an inclination in all humans that wants to be better than they are.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yep.
If you're still alive, you want to be better than you are.
Yes.
Hopefully.
And so what I said to myself was, first of all, I had to acknowledge that I wasn't living my best life. I wasn't living, I think of my potentials. I'm a great writer. I read really well. I'm really good at spotting patterns. I'm really good at inspiring people with my own journey, with being able to look out into a crowd and see the pattern of the crowd, talk to them, move them, get them to understand. And this is what I did in the gang life. I inspired violence. And so when I talk to people now, they say, Christian, what did you do different? And I go, the one thing that I did different was I stopped lying to myself. That was rule number one of change for me. If I was in prison, I loved being in the maximum prisons, because anybody who's been to maximum prison knows you're safer, because the rules are so clear. If you do this, you get this. There's no middle ground.
Okay.
As opposed to being in lower security and you have to be a diplomat at times. I didn't grow up being a diplomat. I grew up being, if you cross the line, just know that, you know, that
consequences.
That extra garbage can, I'm hiding in there.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm okay. Let me not.
That'd be it. Yeah, look, that'd be it.
And so, and what I'm getting at is so in prison, what I had to actually find the strength to do is, if I had an argument with somebody, and arguments are 2 seconds, because if it's going to go there, we're going there now. I don't have energy to waste. Whatever happens as the result, whether we fight there, fight in the cell, whatever, I made a promise to myself that later on, I would think back on what they said, and I would acknowledge that it affected me enough to want to hurt them. And this was something I had never previously did. I always just continued to stuff it. And so when I began to, and that has nothing to do with lying to other people, but I at least wasn't going to lie to myself. And if I couldn't deal with the pain that started bubbling up, I would at least file it away. But the more I started acknowledging the feeling, the more I started seeing the pattern, it would come up during these moments or those moments.
You know what saves you? You know what saves you? And I'm going to diagnose it in a second. I could be wrong, but one thing I'm already noticing is it's such a good skill for self-improvement to be able to see patterns when you can acknowledge them. Because so often we don't look at them. We don't acknowledge them. What's going on?
Well,
What's going on?
yeah.
What am I noticing here? What do I do there? What do I always do X, and that always lands me at Y.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I always run from
And
Z
really
and I start at
quickly,
A.
and just, you're right. And what I try to get people to do is see how the pattern was started long ago. It's not just the X, I ended up at Y. It's that when I watch this show, Calvin blocks the mic in the same way, takes a puff the same way, has his water the same way, holds his pen upside down the same way. It's these things that will set him up in 6 months to be doing exactly the same thing he's doing now. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That's and so, you know, people tend to want to look at big significant changes, and you can do that.
Yeah.
But if you want to take the smallest steps you can, undo or put on your shoe the opposite way tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do that again. And you'll start to see that you're doing it by choice. Right now, you're not doing anything by choice.
Yeah.
Me neither. Him neither.
It's just
We're following
a
our
routine.
pattern.
Yeah, a routine or something.
I like
yeah.
that. It's just, man, we gotta have you back on. I like this. I like this. I think of this. Here's a quick story of something that happened to us recently. I can't put too much of it on blast. So my son, they were doing it. You know that game when you poke somebody in the rib and they jump, right? A little jump game, right? We all do that in school. They're doing that to some young girls, right? Young girls say, no, stop. They keep going. Now, he in trouble, right? We talking to assistant principal and all that. This dude's a man, right? And he's like, yo, you know, I mean, we don't know if it happened or not. And you know what I mean? Like nowadays, people can just make a claim against you and you're guilty. And I was like, damn, this dude is like taken up for like the wrong actions, right?
Yeah.
And he's, you know, and he is, and then he literally said, which was shocked me. He was like, yeah, he got my son on some extra trouble because he was like, oh, you know, I look into these little young boys walking around here faces and I feel so bad because they're trapped in this new world and da-da-da. And I was like, let me stop you right there. I think we're being held accountable to what we always thought was okay. And that sucks and it feels bad now.
Hold on a second. That was a principal?
That was the assistant principal. Wow. And this is a person who's dealing with middle school children, right? And so I ain't putting on too much blast so I don't get him in trouble because we got to make it out that middle school.
Yeah.
But it got him on some extra trouble. It was a 5-day, and I was like, you know what? After the meeting, I was like, yo, you got 8 days. You got the weekend, too. And he was like, why? And I was like, charge it to the patriarchy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just was so upset. You know, but we always did that. We always thought that was okay. Yeah. I was raised by my OGs. I was a whip-out king. They always raised us like, yo, you hanging out with some girls in the house, you whip out. See what's going on. If they with it, then they gonna be with it, and you can get right to it. And if they're not, then you can just be like FUB and roll out. And like when we're raised like that, man, when we're raised like that, how do you then break that for a kid? How do you then not do? How do you not condone? How do you?
So there's a theory. So my dad, all his siblings, and they went through some very serious traumas with their father. Now, when my dad has me, and shout out to my dad, I don't deal with him, I don't talk to him, I don't know where he is, same with my mom. But I know that they did the best with what they knew. I honestly believe that. They did the best with what they knew. So all 4 abuses were passed down to my father. My father passed down 3 to me. He never touched me in a sexual manner, but emotionally, physically, and mentally, he abused me. I didn't pass down any of these to my son, but I missed the first 8.5 years of his life. So what affected him in that way from me not being there? So when you talk about the systemic racism, when you talk about we grow up under the white supremacy culture, things of these natures, we're talking about generational curses, so we need to be talking about generational cures.
Yes.
And so there's a formula that my uncle told me about 15 years ago when I really started on the mental health journey. And he said, Christian, it's math. you have to give yourself at least half the time to get better that it took for you to become messed up.
Yep.
And when I started understanding that, I was able to have a balance with my son. I'm able to teach him in the now and also show him for the future that you're still responsible for sort of playing a part in changing the systemic racism, the becoming involved with Rachel, the campaign.
Yeah.
These things.
We're going there.
Yeah.
I do things like this for my son.
Okay.
Because I mean, more than my son in the sense of brothers
Yeah,
locked
well,
up, but
yeah, for the
you know,
community.
Do you bring him with you to stuff? I don't see him with you
sometimes
at a ton.
very
Okay.
For him
You
it's
don't
boring.
push it, and you
It's-
don't push it.
No.
Heck no.
Good,
But
good,
heck
good,
no,
good.
I'm not-
Because that's how you raise a Republican
Please,
who
I'm not.
rebels.
Yeah.
Who's like, I hated my dad brought me to the rallies. I'll never rally.
Yeah, I don't.
You know, like you can't push it on them.
My son is my son is his own. I cannot live my son's life.
And then again, it takes a village.
Yeah.
The whole idea of like you're doing it for the community. It's part of that. It's like no matter what, you're part of the community, and there's no way for people to say, "Oh, this doesn't affect." Like you've heard of the butterfly effect, right?
course.
It's that-
Yes.
So
The
that
chaos
whole-
theory.
Yeah, exactly. So no
Yes.
matter whatever you do, somehow or another, still affects. It has a
What
ripple
theory
effect.
would you call it?
It's called the chaos theory.
Or the ripple. Or the
So
ripple.
I was about to say, you can tell the brothers in jail that have been reading mad books. We all know about the butterfly
the
effect.
flapping, the
He
flapping.
gonna call it the real scientific thing.
And basically, it's the flapping of a butterfly wings cause a typhoon halfway around the world.
Yeah, because the wind gets bigger and bigger.
This is right now for me.
And for the record, I read more on the street than I do in prison.
Okay. Well, that makes him even more dangerous.
No, it doesn't.
But yo, here's one thing that gets me,
Yeah.
and some sisters asked me to ask because comments you know better and you're a better man now. That's how you make the right choice. Karen, so Karen said because Calvin Feliciano, you know you're a better man now. You know better now. You're a better man now. That's how you make the right choice. I mean, I see a lot of people struggle with that. How do you know that it's the right choice? How do you know that you have to change? How do you make that change? Are you comfortable with that change?
Well, there's an assumption.
those are hard. Those are hard.
It's a good question, but there's an assumption in the question. And the assumption is that you even know what it is to be a man.
That's, yeah.
So for me personally, I had to actually, because the one thing we lose growing up in the neighborhoods we do, and for me going to prison, is we lose our sense of imagination. We lose the ability to transplant ourselves from the bricks into somewhere far from there.
Yeah.
And with that, we lose the ideas of what it is to become better people, better men. And so, you know, to Karen's point, he does know better, but he has to. What we're talking about is he has the spirit to do better, but he has to learn the ways to do better.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to run dad circles like just with me and a couple of my hood friends because when me and my son's mom split up, I was 20. We were both 20, and he was 1. And I was just like not feeling the situation, man. I wanted him with me more, and I want him. And then you're like, how do I get more time out of this kid? But then you're like, can I even have this kid? Do you know how to cook? Do you know how to? So I started, do you know how to not beat him down? Because that's all you've been done. So you think that, oh, you've done something wrong. You spilled milk. I got to punch you in the head because that's what happened to you. So I used to do these circles. I did some in Boston and some in Springfield. I need to do some in Worcester now that I live there. But where I just brought a couple of my hood dudes together, and we just built, and it was a real safe space for us to just say, like, we wilding out, right? And we would just talk about, like...
I'm, like, getting emotional. I love hearing you.
You should do one of those.
Yeah, I love hearing you say this.
But it was all about, like, so I would hear brothers never would put any of y'all on blast, but I hear brothers being like, man, like, yeah, I had the little nigga during the weekend, and, like, I got a McDonald's like 9 times that weekend, right? Because how do we know how to cook? How do you know how to cook? How do you know, what are we doing in our home? The cleaning,
intention is
everything
pure,
of the home.
but you just don't know.
You don't know.
And I'll give you a...
One of my brothers was like, y'all put hands on this
Haitian,
kid.
the Haitian kids or whatever, they show you how to cook from day one.
Yeah.
Like, you gonna be in the kitchen learn how to
That's
cook.
good.
Well, I mean, but we got to qualify that.
Yeah.
My son's mom is Americanized. So she did not, so there's differences in that sense.
Okay.
So, and you bring up a good point, and it's a transitional point of going from maybe not even just the streets, but just going from living one way to living another.
Yes.
Now, when I was in prison, the one thing that I did not know was what kind of father I was going to be, because I never had a bond with my son.
How do you know what's a good father?
Yes. And so what I said a good father was the opposite of my father.
Yep.
But then I started thinking, and I said, if I live my life according to what my father didn't do, I would be a slave to my father's teaching. I would have my father in my mind every time I dealt with my son. And I wanted to be of a free mind so that I could pass down something that was actually new.
And to that point, do we want to strive? I mean, I've always gotten so much praise because the bar is so damn low. The fact that I don't like beat my girl and sniff coke on the weekends. And
women call me sexy. Women think I'm sexy just because I set a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, no, that's popping. That's popping. We popping. The bar is low. So when I would have any interactions, anything going on with a baby mama,
I don't even want. You know what? We're gonna keep the bar low.
No, we benefit from that. But like, yo, I am hailed up, and I've been pushing back on it only the last couple years. I am so hailed up because the bar is so damn low. Because we are not around. My dad was never around. When we're around, we're oftentimes toxic. How are you dealing with that kid? How are you dealing with his mom or her mom? How are you doing X, Y, and Z? What kind of man are you?
It's kind of funny how you guys point that out and everything like that. It's funny, like, obviously when I was younger, I was like, man, I wish my parents got divorced. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but it's like,
real. That's real talk.
You know what I mean? But it's like, all right, now go like, okay, I'm glad they didn't, because I wouldn't be here the way I am. But bottom line is, like, because again, you'd see, man, divorced kids, they get the weekend, they get to split this, they do that, they get 2 different birthdays, they get, different.
That's funny.
No, well, you look at it and be like, going like, and,
you gotta be careful, because I go through that with my oldest, yo. They be spoiled when y'all are doing that.
Yeah.
And I notice that I'm trying to,
because you guys are trying to
be
perform,
hard, not hard on him, but I'm trying to be a little bit more disciplined, because in every place you're the like prized possession, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I've done the weekend dad thing for a bit, where I'm like, I can only get him on the weekends, right? And like, when you come on Friday, you can do no wrong. Saturday, you can do no wrong. So I'm actually not disciplining you at all, because if you did something at school Friday, I can't let that get in the way of my 2.5 days.
You're basically
So
you're like the awesome grandmother.
Yes! Yes! We become grandmoms. I'm telling my baby mama, she's like, this happened, and like, he ain't got no X-Pad for the weekend. And I'm like, I mean, we still going to the arcade this weekend. I ain't seen the boy in 5 days. So we doing what it do this weekend. You discipline him at home.
And you bring up a good,
but he's not seeing the discipline at my home.
And that's what I was going to say. That's a perfect point. Being on the same page
with my baby mama
is a level of consistency that your child needs to see.
Yes.
Because you don't get it messed up, man. I mean, look, I don't want to say this, and y'all, kids can be assholes. I mean,
they're crazy. Let's
be honest.
We love them, but they're crazy.
So don't get it messed up. Your child, it's an evolution. Your child hustles you. You learn how they hustled you. So you go about different. They adjust.
Yes.
They hustle you again.
Yes.
And it's a constant building up.
Yes.
And so it's no different than what you do with your spouse. You know how to get under your damn spouse's skin. Of course.
My boy used to say this, like, I was the best man at his wedding. He's like, how is it like having kids? He's like, it's like having, because he has 3 boys. He's like, it's having 3 drunk dudes all the time that you just can't control or do anything with.
Yes. 3 narcissistic terrorists who can't be bargained, reasoned with. Like, they only see themselves in it. Like, they're, unreasonable.
Yeah, it's like,
they're small tyrants.
It's like Bush 1, Bush 2, and Trump going to a bar.
Yeah.
Yes! I got 3 of them. Yes! They crazy. All right, so moving on to this piece.
Yes.
I want to harp on that.
I promised some sisters I would hit this piece. So, in being a better man,
man.
in our dealings with women. So before you came on, Christian, 2 sisters hit me up, and they're like, "Oh, you need to talk to them about misogyny and feeling like you were that you have difficulties in your interactions with women in the community." What do you say to that? And how do we do? Because we do what we are taught.
Let me say first of all, to all the women in my community, to women around the world in general, I'm sorry. And what I am sorry for is that you had to be the victim of the ways that I learned. Because the same apology that I give you, I had to learn to give it to myself. And so with that said, so many of us are taught. You brought up a good point when you said the whip out game. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically Let's get down to business. Let's not respect the person involved.
Flip.
And so what we and
Louis C.K.
And on some levels, in the environments that we grew up in, it makes sense. It's logical. We don't have a lot of time, primarily because I could probably get shot walking out my front door. We grow up under the auspices that we grow up in a gun culture. We grow up in a gun culture. We grow up in a culture that says if you are abused, if you are hurt, if you do not pass it on either in that way or more detrimentally, then we're coming for you.
You're not a man.
You're not a
Not a
man.
man. Yeah.
And this isn't just men. This is women as well.
That's right.
Because just as much as I grew up being the N-word, they grew up being the B-word. It was promoted from both sides of the spectrum.
Yes.
And so when we met in the middle, it doesn't take away the fact that we still want to love, care, encourage, respect, honor. We still have a belief on what these things are. But the only way I know how to show it is by treating you like a bitch. And I promise you that I love you. I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then...
And I love, just for the people, because I'm sure watching, the first thing that came out was, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm sorry. I mean, I feel like a big part of being a dad is like, not that every house has to be that it has to be the king and all this other stuff, but like the buck has to stop.
Man, women are way more stronger than men.
Very.
Because every dude I know had left their kid. It wasn't the mom that left.
Word.
I know one mom that left out of about 500 guys. And let's be realistic here. Shout out to grandmothers. I mean, come on. We're talking about a fantastic species of queens that have put up with enough shit from all of us for so many years.
Yes.
They're the nurturers, providers.
It's way more than being nurturers. They see the bigger picture. The plight of the black man goes through the black woman.
Yes.
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 Black men are at the
front
lowest.
line.
Black men are at the lowest of the lowest. There's the center earth, there's black men, and then there's the dirt that covers us. And black women have consistently stuck by us, continue to reproduce with us, understanding how important black babies are. So, you know, shout out. So, you know, when we're talking about strength, yeah, I might be able to put my hand on her, which I'm a piece of shit for doing. But when we're talking about that inner strength, men have a long way to go to catch up to what women do.
That resiliency,
come on,
that
man.
resiliency that black and Latina women naturally have.
Naturally.
Naturally been holding us down since day one.
Yep.
But I feel that, man. I feel that. It's funny. So when I was talking to one of these people, they were like, "He's strong," and I was like, "Yo," sort of defending, I guess, because I'm feeling your movement. I feel the movement. I feel the vibe.
Strong.
It's like everything.
Wait, what do you mean? Just give me a context.
I think just like overly heterosexual, almost toxic masculinity.
The patriarchal society.
Yeah,
and stuff like that, where it's not.
I'm like the opposite of that, but okay.
We hear it.
But it's like
the sisters have
we're
said it.
seeking a balance, though. We're not seeking. We're not seeking. You know, it's the yin and yang. You need both. You know.
But one thing, so I was saying to one based on it, and I was like, well, consider this. One, I think he's a very needed voice, but consider when you've done mad time, you're in a place of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
You're interacting with dudes. You're in jail.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be like that person comes out of jail. He's a little bit rough. Like, he been in the, do roses really come from the concrete and just smell good, or do they smell like the dirt they just came from?
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, and I consider it myself, and I sometimes feel so lucky that Chuck Turner got me off the street, and teen empowerment youth organizations got me off the street at 17 and a half. I was so good at it, and I was going nowhere fast. Dead or in jails where I would have been without him, without them, without social justice, without organizing. But I consider where we've come and what we've learned and how we do it, and then having both an understanding from us, like of how we get caught up in it, but then also the responsibility of, okay, yes, that's not a crutch. Yes, that's something that I'm dealing with. How do I show up better for the black and Latina women in my community? How do we show up better? How do we show up better for them?
Well, here's the thing that he said earlier was the fact that we've lost a sense of make-believe, imagination, the way to actually project. And he said, how can you be a better man? And if we can't expand our minds to do that, like to actually think of like, okay, let's change the paradigm, change the whole example.
Yeah.
Like this is the way it was done in the past, or this is what I've seen. What am I gonna do to make it
You gotta
better?
see it, man. So I'm gonna tell you, I saw this movie called What the Bleep Do We Know?
Okay.
People should check that movie out. It's
Okay.
about like quantum physics and about like sight and all this stuff.
Yep.
It's actually a really cool movie. See, of course the dude that done been in jail knows. Of course he know the whole thing, the whole like story. But there was this part where they told a story that was powerful to me, where he says that an indigenous shaman came to his shores and was looking out and saw waves acting odd, strange wave patterns, and he couldn't figure out what it was. He keeps watching. Day after day, he comes back, and the patterns, they're getting closer. It's strange. Finally, when they're damn near on the beach, he realizes that it's a ship full of Europeans. Because the idea of this ship was so outside of his reality, he couldn't even see it. You can't even see it. Your mind, your eyes process, your mind can't process everything you're really seeing. It just can't. When you look at the difference between how quick your mind processes and your eyes process, there's such a huge gap. And so I feel like that sometimes, not to put a crutch on us or to cop a plea, but to just say that you got to see it. Like, what do we have to look to? Keith Huxtable? Like, what do you have to look to in a community when you're raising the bricks and every man is that man? You rarely see this other good guy.
Well, thank God for that. Well, and it's kind of messed up that Bill Cosby, but like for a lot of people, they said because the Cosby Show went on the air when it was on, it spiked the enrollment of black people going to college.
That's funny.
The Huxtable. No, it's true.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of messed up that he's like, unfortunately.
F. Bill Cosby.
Yeah. Sorry.
Kill,
I'm not, yeah.
Keith Huxtable was great.
Yes.
Bill
The
Cosby's
Bill-
trash.
Yes. 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 No, and that's the thing. And the whole thing is like, again, you're raised in a rape culture because it's like it's not just him. It's so many other people. It's part of the whole society. And again, it comes with, again, the whole what's that thing called, the butterfly effect. Like again, how can you say the history of this country does not affect, because light-skinned people didn't come out, the mulatto people, whatever they call, the name they gave it to it, were basically slave masters rape their women or what have you. But again, that's how the whole mulatto generation or race came about. You know what I mean? The mixed race.
So to address, what us men can begin to try to do better, we first have to become aware that we're even disrespecting women. A lot of us, quite frankly, aren't even aware of it.
Yeah.
So when we use the N word, when we use the B word, when we do so many things to demean ourselves.
The gaslighting. I was so good at gaslighting. I'm so good at gaslighting.
We do so many things.
I'm good with the verbal. I have you thinking you're crazy. You ain't see nothing.
Yeah,
I ain't do nothing. You're bugging. We do that.
And we
so naturally.
So naturally that some people believe that it's them. And it's not them. It's a learned behavior as well.
It's a psychological.
And so
psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Well, what did Bill say? Quiet weapons for silent weapons for quiet wars. I mean, there's a system in place through places like DCF, welfare. I mean, we're talking governmental systems that are not people. There are systems.
Yes.
Typically that promote one way. So DCF they just started a mandate where they have to include fathers in more things. Because for so many years, the way the literature is written, they've written the father off.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so they actually have been asking me to come in and sit on some of their meetings, give my testimony, give my experience. How can we get dads active? How can we do certain things? And what I say to them is, well, first of all, you got to be going and talking to dads and not continuing to have these meetings with the same 12 people.
Yeah.
Because you can pass legislation. We just passed the crime bill. Got a whole lot of good stuff in it. But we're expecting the hardcore conservatives to put it into play. Let me tell you what's not going to happen. So here you have...
Well, actually, no. In Suffolk County and in Berkshire County, in Suffolk County, we got Thanos, a.k.a. Rachel Rollins, who's amazing.
Well, yes.
Who I think is going to implement it and go further.
But what we're talking about now are cycle breakers.
And the systems. Yeah, it's just her. It's not the judges.
Yes, and this is what I'm getting at. Just to speak to her, I believe in her. I don't believe in the system.
Yeah.
And so what I'm getting at is when it comes to men beginning to acknowledge the ills they do to women, first they got to acknowledge that the same way they're treating their women, that's how they treat themselves. It's a reflection of themselves.
Yeah.
Once again, it always comes back to the person. As I learned more about myself and my son, I understood just how important his mom is. Just last month, and I put up a post about it, for Christmas, Christian got a picture of his mom, of his mom and his siblings. And I'm like,
So he has siblings from mama's side?
so he has a daughter. So she had a daughter when I went to prison.
Yep.
And she had a child when I was in prison.
Got it.
So he's the middle child.
Got it. Okay.
And
okay.
so it's a picture of her and the siblings. And I'm
the
like,
three of them, he's in it.
he's in it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I'm like, you know damn well we ain't hanging that up. And he's like, and this is what I said. I said, and we're all in the room together. His mom, I'm like, you know damn well we ain't hanging that up. You ain't invading our home.
Yeah.
But when I got,
That's real, though.
but when
I would be the same
but
way.
when I got home, I saw so she lives in Georgia. She went back to Georgia. I saw how her leaving affected him. And the first thing I did was hang that picture up.
Yeah.
Because
That's tough. I don't know
Yeah.
that I hang that up. I hope I have that courage.
but I
That's
understood
real.
but
I
I
like that.
understood
I like that.
that it had nothing to do with me.
I like that.
It had to do I made an oath that I was going to do what was necessary to build my son.
Yeah.
And that's part of that oath.
What's bigger for the kid?
Yeah.
One thing that I do, we have a great relationship. So we've always been friends, me and his moms, before his stepdad, before his stepmom. He's got 4 people in his life.
Good.
Right? And we were cool before that, so we've been cool with them. They finally moved. We synchronized where we live 10 minutes apart. And I see him. I still get him every weekend because I used to fight for the weekends. Being a weekend dad, I literally used to get 48 of them. I used to fight for every weekend. I'm like, yo, I either get every single weekend or we go to court. And then it's like, okay, we're not going to get every weekend. I'll give you most of them. And I get all of them. And then now I get those and vacation. And I still see him on Tuesdays and Thursdays for karate because we live 10 minutes apart from each other.
Yes.
But she had a daughter with his stepdad. And because he goes to the karate that my son goes to, my other son goes to, she put her daughter into that karate. So now the 3 of them are together karate, and my youngest, he don't know what he is to the lady. It's like so interesting. They don't know what they are, and they find it so cool because you don't have nothing in common. Y'all could have a relationship one day. They have no blood in common.
Absolutely.
They just have a brother. You just have a brother. So, which is so cool. Like sometimes I'm like, yo, if y'all can't make it to karate, I'll go pick up my son. I ain't gonna leave your daughter in there like not going to karate, seeing her brother go to karate. I'm like, they all go to the same karate dojo. I'll bring them all.
Yes.
And we bring them back. So it's like this awkward situation, right? It's very awkward, right? That I'm in a car with my wife and my 2 sons and my baby mama's daughter.
Yes.
Bringing
Yes.
them to karate and watching
Yes.
over them and then dropping them home, him and his sister home
That's
after
not
karate.
awkward. That's you guys
It's
living.
awkward, brother. It's awkward. It's awkward.
I feel like it's just you guys living and doing what
We're
that's-
trying. We
yeah.
go to each other's parties for the last like 2 years. Like we
See,
go to
that's
each other's
dope.
parties, and
That's being an
and
adult.
we
That's being mature.
synchronize.
That's
Yeah.
being saying like we can get along. We can put our differences aside to be cordial, to be civil to one another.
Shout out to my homie Rock. Modern families, man, they be like that.
Yeah,
But
nice.
but it's so awkward because when they're around each other with the other karate kids, they don't know what they are. They're like, I think we're cousins. I think we're stepsisters. Because you both have this brother that you love, but y'all ain't nothing to each other.
As long as they know their family.
Yeah,
We're cool.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And to
That's
Jay-Z's
beautiful.
point, y'all heard the Jay-Z 444 song,
No,
I'm assuming.
I haven't.
You ain't heard the Jay-Z album 444? It's
No.
so introspective. You love it. It's really grown man-ish. Oh, my God. So, but in one thing, he takes a shot. He does a play on words that people consider a shot at Future. He says, look at what you've done. In the future, other brothers playing football with your son. You know what I mean? And and I ain't gonna lie, one time like 4 years ago, maybe almost 5, my son was 9, we got him a phone for the first time. He's asleep. Saturday night, I got the phone. You gotta check through the phone. You gotta be checking through the phone. You know what I'm saying? You know how, dad's gotta check through the phone now.
Oh, there's a porn story
I
with
see
Christian.
it. Right?
Remind me, and I'll tell you.
A
how
what
many-
story?
When his brother caught him watching porn.
I can't wait for that because
Remi-
I'm going through
remind
that.
me.
So we're going right there. But so I looked through it and I saw a text from his stepdad. And it was a picture from the Pike of a sports car. And the text was, hey, buddy, look what I saw out there in the street today. And it was that text, and I was like, damn, this man loved my son. You on a pike. You see a sports car that you know would excite him, and you take the picture of it. He texted to him, hey, buddy, check out what I saw today.
Let me ask 15-year-old Calvin that same question.
I text back. Nigga, this ain't your son. Don't ever in your fucking life text him. You know, like
and what we're talking about
Calvin,
is
18-year-old Calvin, 19-year-old Calvin.
And what we're talking about right now is we're talking about 40-year-olds that are still that 15-year-old Calvin.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My heart be breaking. I talk to my dog. Sometimes I offer advice. I do a lot of mediating between couples.
Yeah.
I do a lot of that for my boys.
Yeah.
And it be hurting me. I'm sure you go through it. It be hurting me when I see dudes. I can't even watch Lock Up Raw no more. You know, they do Lock Up Raw. They do Suffolk County a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it just hurts me all the time to see these kids that I remember from DYS. Damn, fam, we was stealing cars at 13. We was in DYS together. Fast forward 20 years, now we 33, and you doing adult bids now. Or when I talk to brothers that are home, and I'm like, damn, I'm talking to the brother that I remember from 99.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we ain't changed a fucking
Yeah.
inch. Not nothing.
Well, here's the thing. I remember one of my friends saying this. There's some 4-year-olds that act like 40-year-olds, and then some 40-year-olds that act like 4-year-olds. So it's like, you know what I mean? Again, it's based upon, like you said, the individual and the person, the maturity and stuff like that. And
there's a common theme between those two people.
Yeah.
Neither one knows how to correctly process emotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go to this other thing because it's important. The sex stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, damn it, man. And look, brother, you are around the corner from it, so I feel bad for you because I'm in the middle of it.
Yo,
you're about to be there in like 6 months.
I'm going to be honest with you. I am looking forward to everything that comes.
It's so hard.
Yo,
but anyway,
I mean,
this interaction, how do we deal with kids? Yo, man.
He's gonna be a man. He's already a man. He's starting to be a man.
When you go through puberty,
Yeah.
and they trying to, and you're thinking to yourself, this little thing, I cut your umbilical cord, and now you're trying to fuck, and I just don't want you to do it. And like, it's hard. Like, you see him, tugging on yourself at the crib, and it is so hard to give that advice. I'm like, listen, man. That's something for the shower, damn it. Okay, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that on your bed and then touching the Xbox controllers.
I made a video about
like, wait a minute.
Because Christian asked me, Christian is super inquisitive. And he goes, Dad, why are you my dad and why am I your son scientifically? So I made a video about it.
Damn, that's a hard one.
Yeah, no. I made a video about it. I love answering these things.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you about the time his brother caught him watching porn because
Okay.
that's what kind of led to the talk. So he was at his grandmama's house. He's on YouTube, and his brother walked by and saw him watching porn. So he tells his mom. So his mom calls. She doesn't say anything to Christian, but she calls me. And she's like, I'm at work or something. She's like, when you get off, text me, whatever. So we talk, and she's like, yeah, his brother walked by, seen him watching porn, and I'm like, okay, so we brought him to, and this is important, and I want to point it out each step of the way when it comes to communicating with children. So Christian would have been 11 at this time. So the time of day.
So it's recently. It was last
Recently.
year or something. Okay.
The time of day you choose to talk to your kid about important issues is huge. You don't want to do it when you're tired coming off work. You don't want there's things you just don't want to do because it's going to bleed into what you're trying to do. And so we put it off for a day because we both had the day. In 2 days we were both free. We brought Christian to his favorite restaurant. We brought him to Five Guys.
Love Five
we
Guys.
made it into an occasion.
Yeah.
And so we sat him down and we're eating the fries and all that. And I'm like, Christian, it came to my attention that you were watching pornography and that, your brother walked by and he's like, yeah, I did. And I'm like, well, what made you watch it?
Yeah.
And he was like, I was just curious. And I'm like, well, how did you come to watching it? He was like, I typed in sex. And I'm like, well, and so I'm asking at every.
So hard to deal
No,
with.
but like
I'm asking at every point because I want to know his thinking.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I hear the word a lot, and I mean, I just typed it in, and this is what came up. And he was like, once it came,
YouTube messing up our homes.
once that came up, he just started clicking link to link to link to link
it's
to link.
over now.
And
yeah.
so
and now they're gonna suggest videos to you.
So come to find out, You know what? I won't even tell you what he was watching.
Just a quick point. I had to tell a parent. I was like, no, you can watch porn on YouTube. She was like, no, you can't. I was like, I'm serious, you can. Absolutely. I had to tell her that. Absolutely. And then she was like, I typed it in for her. She was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, watch your kids.
And so, but it goes to show, like, see, Christian's smart enough to type in sex, but he's not smart enough to erase the browser history.
That's right.
See, I erased my browser history, but I'm 40.
Yeah.
And so,
I saw one that was, he looked up DNP.
Yeah.
I was like, no. Like, I was in the house on my knees, like, no.
So apparently,
we're here.
So we talked to Christian, and we basically, we said to him was, what did you feel when you were watching this? What did it spark something in you? And he was like, honestly, Dad, I just found it kind of funny. And I'm like, I'm like, well, what was funny about it? He was like, I didn't know women did that to each other. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So come to find out,
YouTube.
he was watching lesbians double fisting. And I'm
double fisting.
And it was just, and he's like, I found it funny. And I'm like, well, Christian, look, this is what it comes down to. We understand that you're growing up, you're going to explore. The trouble becomes is when you start having feelings that you want to act on.
Yes.
You don't have the mind frame on how to control them.
Yes.
And that's why we do
Yes.
not want you watching these things.
Yes.
Okay, Dad. Okay, Mom. Time for
Nice.
dessert.
Mine's almost 14, so I gotta, like, it's just a struggle, man, because they want to. So then you gotta have that conversation. If it were to happen, I think it should wait. But if it were to happen, this is how it happens.
Yes.
This is how you're safe. This is how consent is important. Talking to how you deal with women.
Yes.
That's the biggest one, right? You don't want to raise creeps.
Do you want to know
man.
what me and Christian are going through right now? Is sexting.
Yes.
Sexting.
Yes.
So I was going through his phone the other night.
The message browser be filthy among 12 to 14-year-olds.
And he's talking. When I was 12, I was filthy.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, we was on the party line wilding out.
Yeah. We're not
wilding out on the party line.
We're not talking about nothing different.
Oh,
and so I go through his phone, and he's and so he's talking to one of his friends, a dude, and he's like, man, she had some tits. And I'm like, but this is, I mean, look, this is,
man.
Kids are texting
Yeah.
crazy shit back and forth. And I told him, I'm like, Christian, look, what bothers me about this is once you hit send, you can't take it back.
That's right.
And that there are laws. I explain it in this fashion.
That's right.
And, you can explain that something's wrong, but always add in it's wrong on different levels, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that, but it's a everyday struggle, man. You just.
And how do we, as, you know what I mean? And feel free to chime in if you want to, Rhodes, but we have both been clear that we are victims of sexual abuse. Right?
Well, I didn't know that.
I was last week, yes. I was like clear about, and I've been clear about it. I'm very blessed, sadly. It's a weird blessing, but I was blessed that it was somebody, I was like maybe 9 to 11, maybe almost 12, so it was like 2.5 years. And it was a woman who was like 20, 21, and 22 during those times, right? Which is wild. So I thought it was dope. Looked forward to it, hated when it ended, all of that stuff. To then realize later on that you have so many hang-ups based on what happened, based on ways that you felt, right? Like, obviously, if you're having sex with a 10-year-old, he's not going to last long. And then you start criticizing that. And now you have a 10-year-old boy. I was 10 with those feelings already, with those hang-ups of like, damn, my D is trash. I can't hold it up. I can't whatever. And those become traumatic for the mind, right? And I have real hang-ups about it even to now on my performance, on all of that, because you were 10 and 11 being told that your D wasn't ish, and like by this older person who wasn't supposed to be there like that with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how it is for a young woman, because I think that abuse is very different. It's just very different. If you're 10 years old having sex with a 20-year-old, you're probably loving it. If you're a 10-year-old girl with a 20-year-old dude, you're probably not. And I just so how do we engage with them or let them, like, I know people, I was talking to a sister who recently had a baby. Actually, no, I think I can say this is nothing controversial. I was talking to Mo. I was talking to Monica. I'm like, yo, what's up? Like, let's do this work thing. Because as y'all know, y'all might not know, I would love to help y'all out. I have this company that I started called DAPOC, Dope Ass People of Color, where I try to plug people of color organizers with dope, good paying jobs, mainly in the labor movement because they pay really well. So I'm like, yo, Mo, what's up? When we going to do this? Like, I'm ready for you. Like, let's get. And she's said something that gets us all. It's like, I can't leave my kid. Nowhere. When you've been through it, you're like, nowhere. You're going nowhere with no one.
And can I tell you,
That's a lot of anxiety when you're like, I've been through it and I've seen it and I can't let him go through it. He won't. And so how do you shield them from the freaking world?
And I'm going to tell you right now, you can't.
Yeah,
I
was just about to say that.
I'm going to tell you a story. So I talked with this mom. Her son was murdered. And we were talking one day. And she was like, Christian, you're the first person that I'm talking to about this. And I'm like, thank you. And she said, I played a role in killing my son. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I did, and I'm going to explain to you how. She said, Christian, when I was growing up, I used to be repeatedly raped by a family member. And when I began having children, I was going to do everything to shelter them so they never experienced that. And she said the person that I did that with the worst was my son. I never allowed my son to grow into a man, even when he had 2 children, even when he had a child. I was there for every decision that he was making. I dealt with the kids' moms. I dealt with the other kids' mom. I dealt with them. I would not let him be a man and make his own decisions.
Dope for her. Shout out to that mama for being so aware and conscious. But that's real realization.
But this is where it touched me. She said, by living in my past, I stopped him from having a future.
Ooh.
And I know.
Okay, this is deep.
She said, I know that had I allowed him to make his own choices and fail on his own, he would not have made the decision to go out that night. He would have been a great dad who was with his kid. And she said,
she might be a little hard on herself.
But this is fresh
a little
after
hard
her.
on herself. I feel that.
This is a few weeks later.
Yeah.
And so she said, what I vowed to do is step back from my daughter and my other daughter's life and allow them to make their own choices.
Yes.
And she said it's going to be hard because they became dependent on me making their choices for them.
Yes.
Because she's not going to be like a...
But the process has to start now. It's sad that it took losing my son to start it, but it's here now, and we have to start it.
And I think a lot of parents have to learn that, the transition of allowing the children to make their own decisions, because how they're going to be adults. Like, what something happens to you tomorrow, you're not there, and they never
gotta live it. Gotta go through it.
You got to let them make their own mistakes. I mean, you're there to give them advice, and like I said, they're born with their personalities. They're going to be who they are, and you're there to guide them. You're not there to. You're never going to. You can't be there 24/7. So if you do, you know you're going to do a good job being a parent, and they represent you, and they're part of you. But again, like you've got to.
And I'd rather mistakes happen right now. Yeah. When you're under my watch, when you're a juvenile, when you're whatever.
The only rule that me and Christian's mom have for Christian, see, I do think, I mean, all of us will protect our kids physically. I make it a point to back off when he's going through something mentally because it sets me up to help him process it emotionally. Okay. And so I don't want to stop that part because that's what's going to build the tough skin. Mm-hmm. And so the one rule that me and his mom have for him is don't you ever lie to us.
Amen.
Because we are your first line of defense.
Amen.
Let me know what it is. Yes. I'm always team you. I say that all the time. When something happens at school, I'm like, you got to let me know everything.
Yep. Do not lie to me. Exactly.
Got to. And you got to trust it.
Yes.
So the last thing I want to get into, we don't have a ton of time, but I think it's important is because we also both share children who have special needs, right? Yes. My kids have ADHD, major impulse control, a lot of difficulty picking up on social cues.
Shout out to iPads. Y'all have saved me many nights.
Oh, my gosh. They have been amazing, right? But, yo, man, like, that's hard. Yeah. That'd be hard when you're dealing with a kid like, that ain't the most popular kid because not picking up on social cues is hard being in school. right? So you're not popular, and you feel. I sometimes feel so guilty. I'm like, damn, I was the man in middle school. I loved the middle. I want you to have that, but that kid has different struggles than what you had.
Absolutely.
And like, what do we do with those? And I know yours are deep, and I love that sweater, the hoodie,
Oh,
the
yeah,
autism facts hoodie, autism dad hoodie.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
Because my mother, oh sorry, before you jump, my mother did it the wrong way. Shout out to her. She's dealing with a lot, right? I say it from her trauma, not dissing her, but you know,
That's
when
what
they
she
said, yo,
mean.
he got ADHD, she was like, nah, he ain't no retard. And it's like, no, he's not a retard. He's going through issues, right? There's an imbalance here. Help this kid out.
It's a
and she'd be
cultural
like,
thing,
you're not
too.
stupid. You're not retarded. Like, you're not going to take no medicine. They used to like threaten 51As on her. Like, we're going to call DCF if you don't, TSS if you don't. And like, that was the wrong way to go about it, right? Because she saw the stigma of it. And when you can embrace it, I'm like, I'm not going to let you get suspended 22 times in the 6th grade the way I have. We have to do something to fix this. We have to
Yes.
do something to make it so that you could live your best life.
yes,
That's hard, man.
yes.
And the
Yes.
decision you make as a parent is going to impact that kid.
Yeah.
So Christian's diagnosed with PDD-NOS, which is pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified.
Okay.
In the new DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, it's just autism now. They cut out all like the middle part. It's all autism.
Okay.
He's very high functioning. Where he lacks is in the social nuances.
Yes.
So we could be at a funeral and he'll be like, damn, that body looks jacked up. They could have did better. And it's like, so, and it's like,
That's classic.
Yeah,
That's like classic. That's
and so what I do with Christian is, and you know, like I did a video because he asked me about autism. So I did a video and we talked about it. And what I explained to him is, I don't go about it in you're special or you're different. You're just you. You have, where you're super smart, they're super sports-like. And they can learn to be a little bit more like you, and you can learn a little bit about sports.
Yes.
But they'll never be Dr. Sebi, and you will never be Michael Jordan. It's it's just not going to happen.
yeah.
You can partake in what they do, and you can find enjoyment in it. But you won't be that because you weren't meant to be that. You were born to be
And you're
different.
not broken or stupid or retarded or wrong or any of these things.
Yeah.
Like, you're not because of those struggles.
Yeah.
You're not. Like, you can.
You're unique. That's what makes you who you are.
Yes. I mean, I love the, like, you are you.
You are
Yeah.
you.
You are you.
That's it.
We all have our stuff, man. As a dad, like, it's hard because your ego and your pride get
Like,
into
I
it.
grew up with so many image issues. I grew up with so many different things that put me in a position where I automatically didn't show up at certain places because in my mind they had already kicked me out. And what I started understanding and learning is you have to really not give a fuck about what the next person thinks about you. If you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you want to pursue something, if you want to be in a position that actually brings happiness for you, you have to learn how to do away with other people's opinions of you.
Amen.
And we grew up in a system that devalued us since we were little.
Yes.
From being pat frisked 20 times a day to going to school being told to get an A when my brother was just murdered and I got to save half of my lunch to eat tonight. So, you know, we grew up under a system that devalued us. We got to begin to teach it. We got to first and foremost pat ourselves on the back because we survived.
Yeah.
And we got to begin to learn that what we were taught we are so much more.
Amen.
And once we do that, things like that automatically bleed into your whole life,
Yes.
including your children's.
Yeah.
Yes. Before we go, let's clarify this men too. So tell me about the men too.
Men too.
They're gonna think it's something different, and it's our time to clarify.
I am not bisexual. Men too is.
I didn't mean that.
Oh, I thought you were saying like.
No.
I thought
No,
you like
no.
I wanted.
No,
men
we
too.
don't want you.
No. No, I mean that they're gonna think it's something like
Oh, it's a
toxic man thing,
yeah,
right?
Or
'Cause
me
that's
too.
a,
Like,
okay,
oh, yeah, yeah.
so
like men too,
You're-
and
yeah.
Let me. So men too.
there's a lot of male fragility out there. Dudes
Yes,
being like,
yes.
wait, it's not all about
Yes.
the women. It's all about. It's
No,
like,
Men Too is specifically to draw more attention to the Me Too movement with the understanding that for there to be success in any civil rights movement, everybody has to be included at the table.
yes,
It is a one and all for one fight.
Amen.
And so for somebody like me, I'm very vocal about my past traumas and experiences because I understand that so many men are the ones out here raping, shooting, killing, burglarizing. And a lot of it is from unresolved traumas. A lot of those traumas sexual in nature.
Yes.
So if we can begin to put out there that men go through this too, women go through it and women go through it uniquely, but it's not usually the women that are out there doing a drive-by.
That's right.
And if I want to be a violence disruptor, if I want to begin to lessen the violence in my community, I got to bring awareness to the issues that men face but don't talk about.
Let me ask y'all two random questions that have come up for me, and that I think I've handled them well. But do you prefer that your son be heterosexual?
Prefer?
Would you say you prefer?
I don't care. I mean, Christian.
Is it 100% don't care?
Don't care.
Christian, there's no preference either way.
Anyone that knows, I don't have a preference either way.
Okay.
So, first of all humans by nature are female. Your soul, your ruh, if you're Muslim, anything, you were female before you were male. So with that said, I don't believe in masculine, feminine in the typical sense. I believe in, I want both because I want to be the most complete person I am. And if you have that, it can lead you in one way or the other.
Oh, brothers, tapping into to feminine energy is important.
Yes.
For us. Like,
Yes.
we need that. You
Yes.
think you don't,
So
and then it makes you less of a man,
my son,
but you'll be better
My
served.
son asked me, Dad, my son asked me everything under the sun.
It's good.
And this is
that means
all
he trusts you.
Yes, and this is
Right?
well,
Like, that
and
means-
he's
Yeah.
a goddamn hustler because it's always at 2:00 in the morning when he should be asleep.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
So
put a
he's-
little bit of respect on his hustle game, right?
He says, Dad, if I was gay, would you still accept me?
Ha.
And I said, Christian, if you were gay, I'd drop you off at the gay bar.
Yeah. Or you drive there yourself, but you can't get there until you're 21.
But my point-
No, hold on. I hope he interpreted like, oh, that means you love me. You know what I mean?
No. Me and my son have a great relationship. But to answer your question, I have no preference. The only reason why I would prefer him not be gay, but he can even work around that, is so he can procreate or have the intention.
Yeah, they can
But
They can
see,
adopt.
people get it messed up.
Yeah.
Someone said to me, well, God doesn't want you to be gay because everybody would die.
No,
not true.
Just because you're gay doesn't mean your sperm doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So if Christian said, "Dad, I love men. I understand I understand that I need to continue on this legacy."
Sperm
Now,
bank.
what if he says, I think I was born wrong.
Meaning,
and
does he wants to go through an operation,
I
a
wanna
procedure?
I think I'm a girl, and that's what I want to be.
Look, it's the same deal. You're asking the same question, but trying to get deeper, and it's not
Well,
deeper.
that second one's harder.
It's really not because
Because I know
it's
some brothers who can be
I'm
okay
just
with the
saying-
first one. That second one adds something because that's no longer your baby boy, right? If he's saying he wants to be your baby girl,
Look,
it's a very radical thing.
So maybe we need to stop thinking in those terms and think in the terms of this is my child, and my child's
I agree with that.
gonna do them.
Yeah. Because, I mean, and the thing is, it's like, what age too? Like, is it that the child decides at 5 or decides at 16 or whatever? They still, you know what I mean? It's
but
something.
studies show that kids know as early as
At
5
exactly.
that they don't that something's different.
Yes.
And I've always when I read those, what I always did with both sons is I always checked in about how they feel about their anatomy because that's one of the tales that I read. We're all reading this stuff, right? I would have made crazy jokes about this at 17 years old, but like we're all trying to change, be better. So I read that like part of it is like you can tell when they want to hurt their penises, like when there's things about themselves that they don't like that it suggests a gender. That's like a tall tale sign. If your kid's doing something to harm themselves sexually like that, that's a sign.
let me push back
Talk
on
to
that
them.
really quickly. Let me push back. But you also have to be uniquely aware of what's going on in a person's life, because you were told that your D was an ish. So let's say one of your behaviors was to try to cut it off.
For that reason.
Versus you being. So there's a lot that goes on.
Yeah.
So I mean, ultimately,
I just mean that that's one sign.
It's yes,
Children
yes,
that
yes,
try to
yes.
harm themselves
Yes.
and are not comfortable with any sort of characteristics, physical, that make it seem like they are one thing. And when you hear a kid be like, yo, man, why God made me wrong?
Yep.
Why I was born wrong? I'm
Yep.
like, I can't deal with that. So if you're ever, I always check in with them. How do you feel about your penis? How do you feel about being a boy? How do you feel about, you ever thought about being a girl? And if they're like, nah, that's silly. And I'm like, have you ever,
Just
maybe
ask
it's
them.
not silly. Like, what's up? You know, like just being around it and getting their vibe. Because if you're going there, the way you said, if you're going there, we're going there.
And I
if
think
you're going there, we're going there. If you think you're a girl, then fam, then we're going with it. We're going. What's the name?
and I'll
What's
and
up?
I'll
Like,
and
what
I'll
you do,
put my
operation?
last
I'm with it.
yes, this will be my last comment, and it's inspired by what you're saying. Ultimately, I think what all of us are saying is, talk to your goddamn kid. They know more than you think.
Yes. They, like I said, they're born with their personality. They're born who they are. You're just here to guide them and nurture them into this world. And it, like, basically, you give them love, and then they will give you back love. But that they are who they are when they're born. That's.
But
the way
I hear
feel
that a
about it.
lot from men that are my age that have that are homosexual and that are like, yo, my pops ain't rocking with me like that. Especially if you're a hood dad. That's like, if you're not woke and you're like 40-year-old killer and your kid's 17 years old and saying he want to be with dudes, you feel a way about that. If your son's trying to be, and I've dealt with this with brothers, unfortunately, some of my boys, you know, like if your son's trying to be a girl, you're like, nah, fam, that ain't how it works. Like that's how we react when we don't know better.
I mean, even in the church, a lot of times.
Oh,
I mean, there's
a lot all the time.
But I mean, no. But my point
we're not gonna
is,
go there and mess with the church.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, no. I
We're
wasn't
not-
trying to bring in Paul of religion or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, there's so many barriers that people in general face when it comes to civil rights, when it comes at every step of the way. Everybody.
Well, also, let's not forget that the church is also a place of sexual abuse too.
Well, yeah, no, I mean,
You
that's
know,
not. But we're just talking about in the sense of the perception of the person going through it.
Yeah, but your religion should again, I don't know why religion got involved with sexuality, and the fact that, you know, it is part of it, like the part of the story about procreation and stuff like that. But
What do you mean? Because if you're God, you want to control it all, and that sex is a part of everything.
well, no, but again, like in the Asian culture, like sexuality is not associated with religion or spirituality. And so the two things are separate. But in our culture, the Western culture, Christianity, they want to control the sex. And that's why, like, we have so many hang-ups, is because we were taught these hang-ups. Okay.
I'm going to say one thing. I want to give a shout out. The Sounds About White segment, we're going to do super quick. I'm going to just talk about Revere. Good big shout out to, we got new fans in Revere that are Nazis, Trump supporting Nazis, Turtle Boy people that love this guy, love Monica. They're completely obsessed with certain people, become completely obsessed. Yeah, yo, they don't like that. That's why they don't mess with you, because when you don't engage them in the way that they need.
No. I just want to
They
say
are
that I
psycho.
appreciate that they have the time to make my name bigger.
He's got time. I can't wait to tell you about Turtle Boy. I know him from Worcester, from people that know him, I call his life. But they're coming at us because I had a homie, Dimple Rana, on, who's an Indian woman from...
Who I apologize, Dimple. We were supposed to have a call today, and yeah.
Oh, Dimple, the man stood you up like that on the
Yo,
call. So she's a complete goddess, man. And I love her. And she was on, and when one of her homies, Vani Huot, was on. And these are women that organize in the Cambodian community in Revere. And there's a large Cambodian community there that have caught hell.
And they've been there for generations.
We've always seen them in DYS, and we always were like, yo, these we call them the Moreno Chinos, the like black Chinos. We'd be like, yo, where are these black Asians coming from? Like, it was just so interesting to see them coming in DYS. It's like, you're from where? Revere?
Yeah.
Cambodian? Where's that? Why are you dark? It was just so weird for us, right? Being from like
Well,
Boston,
you know
this
what?
side of the bean.
We have family. Yeah.
I'm sure. But yo, so they saw her. She's running for city council. So shout out to Dimple, RanaForRevere.com. Please make a contribution.
That's right there.
So she's running for city council, and they saw the video and have been attacking her and us for a week now. Wild racist stuff, side threats and all.
See, that's
to
why
their
she
sister.
needs to run.
I can't wait to
That's why she
support her,
needs to
but they're
run.
losing their minds. So shout out to the Revere Nazis that are coming at us. The last thing, love doctor. A little bit of advice. Love doctor advice. I want to ask y'all brothers two questions. One, is there any amount of significant others that is too? Is there any amount of baby daddies that is too much? Is there any amount that's too much? Could you be with a woman who has? Is there anything that could you not be with a woman that has 5 baby daddies versus 1 versus none versus?
That means
is there anything?
Well,
that's too
here's
much?
here's the thing. If she has
honest.
different baby daddies, that means she's got to be hot. Because 5 different dudes found her
Well-
enough to be like, she's that attractive. So, if
No.
can you personally deal with it? Like, you got to be like.
Wait,
Did
you're
you
saying
deal
that?
with it?
Wait. You're saying that if 5 men had a baby with her, that means she's hot?
Most likely.
I don't know. I disagree with
Oh,
that.
I mean,
but
I-
because you could be totally ugly.
Yeah,
and you're that
that's-
person that gets called at 11 p.m. That text that like,
But-
"What up, though?"
Well, I mean,
You know?
I think
Yeah.
we're confusing becoming pregnant with somehow there's love involved.
Yes,
I'm gonna tell you
also,
how
yeah.
Christian was created. I said, I'm gonna come in you. She said, come in me. Christian's here.
Word.
I'm that simple. So to that point, it doesn't necessarily mean that. For me personally,
No, what I'm saying, okay, the dudes found the person attractive enough to the point where it's like they wanted to procreate with her. No, dude, I guess like I don't think
Or have sex with, and then that led to a baby.
here-
Because you just don't go in planning all the time, right?
that. All right, but I'm thinking like if you are gonna do it, you got to be somewhat attracted to the person.
but you're confusing a physical attraction with she may have filled a void for them.
Yeah.
okay.
But the bigger question is,
Can you
Would-
handle
can you
that?
date a
Yeah.
girl that has 5 baby daddies? Is there something that's too much? Is there such thing as a too much?
I don't think so. No.
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 'Cause that's a lot to deal with. I'm glad that you're honest about that.
I don't think
I
so.
can easily say as a married man, it's too easy.
Oh
to
no.
say, too
I don't
privileged
think
to
I don't
say.
think it's enough. I don't think that it's too much.
You don't think it's too much?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
Because this is the thing.
So if you fell for a woman and she's like, one thing I gotta tell you, I got 5 kids and I got 5 baby daddies, you're
Look,
cool. You're still in.
yes.
Okay.
I mean, you
All
want to
right,
know
I
what
like
it's
that.
like?
I like that.
I done 3 state bids, 3 county bids.
Yeah.
I mean, she's putting up with me.
Yeah.
Look,
yeah.
I mean,
I like that. I like that.
But that's what I'm getting at. I mean, if I can accept my son having gender transitions, I hope I can accept her having 5 kids. I mean, this is
5
the
different
reality.
baby daddies.
It doesn't matter how many. This is what it comes.
Yard.
This is what it comes down to. It really depends on her. Because she may have been going through different things in her life. Some people, when they go through things, they explode. Some people implode. I imploded. I didn't have a child till my son she didn't become pregnant until I was 27.
So to answer that question, if you love her, you will. If she has 5 baby daddies, you love her, you will. So
Yeah.
that's the way it is.
I think so.
Yeah. Like I said, she's an all-star.
Hey, I think so.
Yeah, like
I think
5
so.
other dudes said she was hot enough.
Yeah.
I know you said it don't equate, but you know.
Yo,
But if you personally,
I'm like at a total. I mean, and obviously I won't be ran over, railroaded, but I'm really truly beginning to understand. You don't know where that next blessing's gonna come from. Whether it comes from
That could be your soulmate right there.
yeah, you don't.
5
You
baby
don't-
daddies. You was lucky number 6.
you don't
That's
you
your soulmate.
you don't know. Like
Yeah.
what I mean, a small story, and I'll keep it under 30 seconds.
Yes.
Go. And so when I first got to Old Colony Correctional Center, it's set up in an L. All the pods would be here that you lived on, and then there would be a row of classrooms, and up top it would be administration offices and the chow hall in an L. When you first get to any new facility, you notice everything: mechanical closets, bathrooms, staff bathrooms. As the years go by, you understand you're never going to be inside certain spaces, so you mentally forget about them and you focus on what you do. So in a facility of 700 men with 500 doors, 460 of those doors mean nothing to you, so you forget that they exist. You close your mind off to the possibility of what's inside those doors. So to bring it back to what you're talking about, you have to be open to receiving blessings from anywhere. And that could be the kid with the mother with 5 kids, different baby daddies. It could be Calvin Feliciano. It could be somebody struggling in the Men Too, Me Too movement. It could be a 7-year-old that reminded you of your childhood self. It could be anything, but you have to be aware that you are becoming unaware.
Word.
yes.
Word.
No, absolutely.
That's what I got hit with. So I
So-
do these every week, and it's always brothers that hit me up. And one brother hit me up and was like, I'm having a hard time struggling with this. I love this girl. And she had, I want to say it was 3 baby daddies, 4 kids, 3 baby daddies. And he was like, man, like, this is just,
I mean,
this is just difficult.
but
you know what I'm
is
saying? Like,
are the kids all still living at home with mom and stuff like that? All right, well, yeah.
but it's people you have to deal with. That's a stress on your life.
Yeah, it is.
You got to deal with them.
Yeah.
If one baby daddy hates that she's with anyone else, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
If one baby daddy is toxic and is going to tell the kids that you ain't ish, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
If one thinks he can continue to disrespect and abuse his baby mama and that's your woman, you're going to have problems. Like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem you're going to have is if you are a man that can't share his time with his significant other.
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
Because if you are needy, you do not need a woman that has 5 children with 5 people.
Word.
yeah.
Word.
She's
Word.
got priorities.
Word.
Yeah.
Word. Exactly. Exactly. That's just
Exactly.
That's wrong. All right. Final thought. Any one tip, 30 seconds or less for dads out there. Random tip. Anything from what you heard tonight, from anything you had before. Go. One tip.
What you said earlier, trust your kids and always say to them, don't lie to me. Build that bond in that relationship. And then, like, believe them. And they're who they are, but you're there to guide them. That's it.
We are Team You.
Yeah.
Yes. So my tip would be get on the birth certificate. Because if you need to get any services for your child, anything for your child, it's not enough that it was your sperm that made that child. You have to legally be the
I like
parent
that.
of
That's
that
a very
child.
technical but yet important thing.
Yes.
Very important.
Absolutely.
Very, very important.
I had to get services for my son. Had I not been on that birth certificate, I would not have been able to do that.
Wow.
I kind of go the
okay.
same way. I kind of go on the,
So
because
you-
I've done these father circles. I go on the, like,
Because the
learn
legal.
learn some basic home ec, learn how to cook.
Yep. Learn how to clean.
Like
Yeah.
maintain your
Your
home, and get rights.
Yeah.
Get rights set up.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. Get rights set up.
So-
I got joint physical and legal. Can't nobody take me from that.
I have joint with physical custody. And that's a big point because
That's a big deal because you are primary guardian.
yes, and that's and what people see when it comes to not fallouts, but when it comes to your child, don't trust yourself, don't trust the mom. Trust the fact that if something goes south, your child will be left hanging. Get everything in writing. Everything in writing. Because there has to be, because you never know when you're going to have to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, and our last one is, like, man, it doesn't stop at the child support.
No.
Like, I always beef with brothers about the child support. Like, I do child support. I'm doing 7 racks to the year, right? I got the boy 48 weekends and every Tuesday and Thursday and a whole month in the summer and one of the week vacations, if not both of them, and yada, yada.
And now karate class.
And karate, and I'm paying for karate. I buy him sneakers, everything, and I get him 3-4 haircuts a month. That's one of my hang-ups, being broke, never getting a haircut. My mother cutting my hair.
Look,
sometimes
that
we
child
bleed in.
support is to help her with her bills.
Basic, exactly.
Come on,
Basic
let's
for
call
her
it what it
home.
is.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to one of my brothers. He got me mad. He's like, "Oh, you're doing all these haircuts and you're doing this. I bought my son sneakers. Everything that's a transition, I'm helping. So when the summertime comes, I got you. I'm half, if not more, on summer clothes. I'm half, if not more, on summer camp. I'm half, if not more, on school clothes and supplies. I'm half, if not
love
more,
hearing
on
that.
everything.
Love
right?
hearing that, yes.
And I got everything at my crib. Have your own stuff, your own socks, your own whatever. One time when when we were split up, he was 1 year old. He had a bag, right? 1 year old, you got to have a bag. It's a lot of stuff. And she forgot socks, and I was so mad. And luckily, I was with a woman who was like, "Yo, get your own damn socks.
Yes.
Don't worry about her bag. Tell her, send me clothes he can go home in, and that's it." And I started doing that, and it made my life easier because we weren't fighting about things like you forgot bottles, you forgot his socks. There's only one underwear here, and he's with me for 4 days. And you can have your own stuff. I got everything that I need for them kids at my crib. I also send her things all the time. I do an order. I just read the other day. I got 2 sneakers.
Well,
I got
you
a bunch
guys
of
get
shirts
along
and
and stuff like
underwears
that
and socks.
yeah, you guys get along, and that's awesome. And
Well,
that's
no,
the fact
because
You don't have to get along to send things.
What
No,
what
no.
he's talking about has nothing to do with her.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It has to do with him.
That's right.
And that's what I'm getting.
And my
at.
man is like, "Yo, you need to go to court and get some things." So some things that we never set up. Like I could get like credit for in child support's eyes for health insurance for whatever, and they'll take like $40 a week from me. I'm like, what does that $40 do? That's my kid's house. And brothers be like, "I want a full accounting of where my child support goes. I want to know receipts." And I'm like,
No,
goes to that home.
Do you
want to
know?
swallowed
Do you
by
want to
that
know
home.
what I tell them dudes? Go fight for custody then and see what it's like having a kid on your own.
Yes. I hope she do get her hair done. I hope she do. You know why? Mama, the way they say happy life, happy wife, happy life.
Yes.
Happy mama, happier son.
Absolutely.
You want your kid to be in a better home. You want her to move on with another man and find love, or a woman or whatever. You want her to find love. You want her to have whatever she needs. I do the child support and then some.
Yes.
And I send it with blessings. And they're like, oh, you know, you need to get, one of my brothers like, oh, you need to ask her to go half sometimes on all these haircuts. I'm like, so then what? Like I take $20 on my baby mama house?
Yeah.
Or I refuse to do that many haircuts and he gets less haircut. Now my son's at school scruffy the way I had to look, and that's why I started selling drugs. And I'm like, that don't make no damn sense. We got to be thinking about them kids
For their
and not
future.
about our ego and how angry we are. Yo, I'm sending you $180 a week and you asking me for school supplies. And it's like, yeah, dog. yeah. Is that wrong? Nah, man. Like, yo, yeah, fam.
Well,
What you got on them school supplies?
Like you said, he didn't ask or she didn't ask to be born. You
That's
brought
it.
him in.
That's it.
You got to take care of
That's
him.
it.
Yeah, we're talking simple stuff here. Simple
Yo.
math.
Are we done, right, Doobie? I love these. Yo, I love
Doobie was
this.
like, yo.
Look, man, it be hard Saturdays, man.
It's
Hard
Saturday night.
Saturdays.
I got things to do.
This has been Activist Hour. I want to thank these brothers, man. Rhodes Pierre, shout out
Yo,
to
Calvin,
We the
thank you.
People. Catch
Yes.
that Saturdays. Shout out
Saturdays.
to the homie Christian, man.
Dude,
I
seriously.
rocks with y'all. I want to do
Yeah.
this listen to learn thing.
Dude,
You're
seriously,
needed.
nice
You're
meeting
very needed
Yes.
in these spaces.
Yes.
Know that you're very needed
Absolutely.
in these spaces. And I was telling somebody recently that you sort of have a corner on this market. There's not that voice. Single cell to single dad.
Yeah.
That voice is just, there's not that voice right now, that energy. That's very needed.
Understood.
Very needed.
Understood.
Very,
Well,
very needed.
I mean, just again, like DCYF, the way it was set up and stuff like that. Did you? Well, the show's almost over, but that's something we can talk about. Was it a struggle for you to get the services and get, as a father for your kid? Like, was there a problem? Because
Where do you know to get them?
No, because again, like the services are so slanted for the moms and the kids that sometimes, like you said, they leave the dads out. So, did you have an experience in that regards?
I face some challenges.
Okay. Like I said, something we can talk about later.
Yeah,
know,
but
'cause they're
I
trying
see
to-
I see Doobie over there, so
Yeah.
It'd be hard. It'd be hard. But yo, so shout out to these brothers. Shout out to the listeners, man. Activist Hour. Shout
Absolutely.
out to our host,
Thank
Monica
you.
Cannon Grant.
Yeah.
And new
Shout
Prince
out,
CJ.
yeah. I hope that Prince
shout
is
out to
doing
Brian
great.
Murphy, Michael Doobie on the boards.
Yes.
Disrupt
Boston.
Down the road beer company. We
Yes,
here, man.
yes.
We have a good time over here.
Yes, it is a
And,
cool
and I'm
place.
loving this. Check us out next Saturday. I think our host is back, and that'll be a treat. If so, if not, we rocking one more week. But catch us, man, and peace and love to you all.